I can't hear a thing in the conference room. What's happening there? Hello, I can't hear a thing
Big
from the
Fang
conference
Corporation.
room.
It's Tuesday, June 14th, 9:30. And the purpose of this meeting is to conduct a business for the United Board the United residents under Civil Code 4930 and was hereby properly noticed under Civil Code 4920. And I do declare we have a quorum. Okay, and media is I don't know where they're at. I don't see them. And then approval of the agenda.
The pledge.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Pledge of Allegiance, Director Akokar, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. You may see.
Okay. Approval of the agenda. Can I have we have a motion to approve the agenda as written? Director Blackwell so moves. It's seconded by Diane Casey. The agenda is approved. Let's take a look at item number 5 is approval of the minutes. We have first May 10th, 2022, the regular open meeting, the regular open session of United. Are there any omissions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, hearing none, they're approved. 5B, May 20th, special open meeting. Are there any corrections, deletions, or omissions? See nothing, those minutes are approved. 5C, May 26th, agenda prep meeting. Any deletions, omissions, or corrections? Seeing none, those minutes are approved. Thank you. Report of the chair. I just came back from the East Coast, and so I had to do a prep meeting early this morning. I couldn't get in here last night, but I have nothing else to say except to remind us that we are 11 directors acting on behalf of the citizens and residents of United Mutual. And with that, let's move on. Open forum. These are time for members of the community to get help here and talk, and anything that's not on the agenda. If you have an item regarding the agenda, you can get up when that item comes forward. Michaela, do we have someone?
Yes. First one up is Juanita Skillman, Manor 2154N.
Good morning, Juanita.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. I'm here this morning on behalf of the library. We have coming up next week our first story time for children. So if you have grandchildren visiting you during the summer, we're going to have 3 story hours, one each month. The first one is June 21st, the second is July 13th, and the third is August 10th. And it'll be from 1:30 to 2:30 on the lawn outside of the library. We have swimming for children during the summer, and we thought we needed also a little intellectual stimulation. So we have some of our volunteers that are going to work on the story time. And we invite any of you who have youngsters visiting you this summer to come to one of our story times. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanita. Michaela?
Next up, we have Chris Collins, Manor 3306Q.
Chris, you had the floor.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm here on behalf of the foundation and of Laguna Woods Village. And of course, we work on behalf of residents experiencing temporary financial crisis. The 25th anniversary of the foundation of Laguna Woods Village. As residents of Laguna Woods, we're all familiar with the 3 stages of life: youth, middle age, and you're looking wonderful. Well, we're not sure if the foundation is considered young or middle-aged at 25, but it certainly is looking wonderful. On May 5th, 2022, the foundation celebrated its 25th anniversary with supporters and friends of the organization. Begun in 1997, the foundation was started with a simple premise: a group of residents pooled resources to help other residents facing hard times. And from that simple concept, the foundation was started with the help of social services. Its basic premise is neighbors helping neighbors. In the past 5 years, the foundation has spent over $1.2 million to help village residents, with over 95% of the funds going directly to services and nearly 99% of the money raised here in the village. Foundation helped fund over 80,000 Meals on Wheels last year. To put this in perspective, in 1998, the second year of the foundation's existence, the total budget was only $20,000. But the ability of the foundation to thrive over 25 years and help residents is due to the support of many groups: individual donors, clubs, village leaders and staff, and our agency partners, among others. In particular, the foundation is grateful for our agency partnership, which include AgeWell Senior Services, South County Outreach, Alzheimer's Orange County, and Memorial Care Saddleback Medical Center, who've all been willing to work with us to meet resident needs. As a result of this support, the foundation continues to help village residents confronting temporary financial challenges. But none of this would have ever been possible without the enduring partnership of the foundation and social services here in the village. Excuse me. Social services, which is actually funded through our association fees, was there at the very beginning. Social services is a conduit for receiving help from the foundation. It interacts with residents, builds trust, identifies need, and links residents with help and services. For more information about how the foundation achieves its motto, Neighbors Helping Neighbors, please go to our website at thefoundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Michaela, who's next?
Next is John Beckett, Manor 364Q.
John, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Blaise Pascal once said, "Gratitude is heaven itself." I am full of gratitude today. And here's the reason why. This is a bank statement, and it says, United Laguna Woods Mutual Reserve Fund. For 10 years, I tried to get our managing agent to put our reserve funds in a separate bank account. Well, my wish has come true. For the first time in village history, we have the ability to verify the current balance in our reserve fund and the payments made from our reserve fund. The village's former managing agent commingled our reserve funds and our operating funds in the same bank account. So it was impossible to verify the balance in either fund, and it was impossible to track the payments made from either fund. My hat is off to the directors of this board and the directors of the Sue Margolis board for taking control of our reserve funds. I got this bank statement from the head of the Financial Services Department, who graciously agreed to meet with me and answer my questions. I asked, what happens to my monthly assessment check? Here's my recollection of what he said. First, GRF takes out their share and transfers the balance to United. As you know, your members pay 3 assessments: an operating assessment, a reserve assessment, and a property tax assessment. The Financial Services Department deposits our operating assessments in United's operating account. They deposit our reserve assessments in United's reserve account. What happens to the property tax assessments? Our former managing agent deposited the tax collections in a restricted bank account. But our current managing agent deposits the tax collections in an unrestricted bank account. Last year, we learned that $2 million in property tax funds had been spent for other purposes. This year, we learned that another $2 million in property tax funds had been spent for other purposes. I want to tell a story about what happened in Leisure World, Laguna Beach. Their managing agent missed the deadline for paying the taxes. Every homeowner in Seal Beach got a notice of default demanding immediate payments of taxes, penalties, and interest. I don't want to see that happen here. This board took control of our property, of our reserve funds. Please, take control of our property tax funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett.
Next is Mcintosh Manor 68C.
Maggie McIntosh, you have the floor.
Do I have the whole floor, or what part do I have?
You can take all you want, Maggie.
I'll take any of it. Good morning, neighbors and all. Wonderful to see all of you here today. I have two questions. Saban last meeting was talking about some money set aside for benches, and I thought maybe I could be helpful in pointing out we've always had two different bench thrusts in this community, two different concerns for benches. One for benches along the streets for people out walking who need to sit down and rest. A lot of people think they're bus benches. No, we don't have bus benches. You can flag down a bus anywhere in the village that it can safely stop, and it will. But when you realize that most people going out to catch a bus don't want to stand there for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, so they're going to use them as bus benches, and that's fine. The other benches are the ones along Serpentine and other well-used walking areas. It's the ones along Serpentine that really need help. We need at least 3, maybe even 4 new benches, wider ones that will accommodate 5 people, maybe 6 people, not 2. So I hope that can be included in that budget. And they should be the self-cleaning benches that we have appearing, the green ones. They can be whatever color the board wants, but they're appearing bit by bit, more and more, replacing white ones along the streets, the worn out white ones. Thank you. I want to talk a moment about, here's the time right here. The funding of the solar heating in the laundry rooms. I think we're at the halfway mark now. I think that was set up as a 10-year plan. I believe we're at 5 years right now. That's why I was hoping we'd get a report on that pretty soon. I think there's one flaw, one problem, was the board in setting it up, being careful about the payback of the money taken out of the contingency fund to cover that $3.5 million, however it was covered. That I don't remember. They said they would take $10 per manor per month for each member of our mutual and put that aside, and that would pay back the money, the millions that were spent up front. But the board decided not to do that later on, the new board. So that money has not been going back into the contingency fund, and I may be incorrect, and I would appreciate being corrected if I am. But I would love to hear an updated report, maybe at the next board meeting, as to how things are going, because I hear good news about savings on the water heating, and then some bad news about other things. So I think it'd be wonderful if we could hear about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maggie.
We have a few resident emails. So
Okay.
I'll start with the first one. It's from, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced the name, but I believe it's Uwe Simon Neto Manor 881C.
I think, excuse me, I think that is on 17C. Is it for that?
Michaela, if it's on that, if it's on the agenda, we'll take it up then.
Yeah.
For, they did not specify as to which, we do have a handful of emails for item 12C on the agenda that I'll read at that time, but this one didn't specify which one it belonged to. It's up to you guys. Go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
Okay. They said, on the evening of October 19, 2021, at about 6:40 p.m., a resident showed up at my unit in the company of her 2 dogs, furiously ringing my doorbell. My caregiver opened. A resident howled at her for watering the plants on my balcony, thereby allowing some water to splash on the street and even moistening her car. When I came out of my bedroom, she screamed at me at an even higher pitch, topping her accusations with one of the xenophobic slurs for which she is renowned in our neighborhood. Then I found out from a neighbor that she had accosted another caregiver in the laundry, ordering her to clean the floor, which the caregiver refused to do. All this could be laughed off as a hilarious form of lunacy had it not occurred under difficult circumstances in my family and displayed a xenophobic pattern that must be investigated. My wife is afflicted with major health problems, including a serious cognitive impairment, which is why we have caregivers financed by wealthy friends. This places a heavy burden on me, especially as I am myself recovering from a serious illness for which I have been hospitalized for 2 months earlier this year. My wife and I had been happily married for 59 years, but in this phase of our lives, we need at least the moral support of our neighbors, which we are given amply, except, of course, by this resident. For several years now, I have been quietly observing this resident's harassment of people in our cul-de-sac. It is well recorded, but in my estimation, has been insufficiently acted upon by the board. One of its ugliest features is a xenophobia that manifested itself in a number of incidents. One, she accosted me in the street without any provocation. I have never made any anti-American remarks, if only because I am not anti-American. Why else would I live here? Talking to several of my wife's succession of caregivers has hassled them regularly, interrogating them about whom they are working for and in attempting to bully them into performing menial chores. The intent was clearly to demean them. In the light of these experiences, I am pleading with the Laguna Woods authorities to investigate and to prevent her from wreaking further misery upon this community of elderly residents. This is a pleasant neighborhood striving to live out their days in a civilized and harmonious manner. As far as I can see, only one neighbor has made it her lifestyle to pester us malignantly, one after the other. I think we have the right to demand of the board to put an end to this.
Thank you.
And the next one is Heidi Rettiger, Manor 556A. I am writing to bring up a serious problem that I and my friends and neighbors have been unable to resolve. I am writing instead of attending the meeting as I have a medical appointment at the same time as the board meeting. The new, much taller dumpsters are not only inconvenient, they are almost impossible to use. I myself am short with back problems. It's very hard to reach up high to throw out my trash and recyclables. Recently, I caused a back injury trying to do that, forcing me to seek medical help, and I am not the only one. My friends and neighbors are complaining of the same. Further, we have residents here who are wheelchair bound. I cannot imagine how they're managing other than leaving their trash next to the bins, which many residents are doing. Since we have all manner of critters living here, coyotes, rabbits, skunks, and rats, this poses a safety hazard as well as a health hazard. I called the company to complain and to request lower profile bins. They said they would replace them and nothing happened. After over 2 weeks, I called again and was told they have a supply chain issue and cannot say when the smaller bins will be coming. Given that management presides over a village of elders, it is baffling that they did not give this any forethought when switching providers. Be that it may, what's done is done. However, we cannot tolerate a long delay in rectifying the situation. VMS needs to fix this now before more people are injured or before someone has an unpleasant encounter with our animal neighbors, particularly the rats, which carry disease. Since I cannot attend this meeting, I will appreciate a contact from the board letting me know what you plan to do about this. Thank you. And that is all for open forum speakers.
Thank you, Michaela. All right. Before we go on with this, I just want to let you know the Director Nada Nardani did call me, so she has an excused absence from the meeting. So, and I appreciate directors doing that. They let me know. So let's go now on responses, number 8, responses to open forum. Director English, you want to go
Point
first?
of order. Point of order.
What's your
I thought,
point of order?
yeah,
What's your point of order?
I thought VMS is supposed to answer these questions first. We don't need.
Well, on my agenda, it says, number 8 is responses to the open forum speaker, so we will follow the approved agenda. Thank you very much, Director Torn.
We did agree at the last.
Well, it's not on here now, and we approved this agenda as written, and we'll follow the agenda as written. Director English.
Yes, with regard to the last speaker, whose name I don't recall, I have to agree with her totally. I tried to put the garbage in where I'm supposed to, and it's way up high. And what I ended up with was an awful mess all over the place that I had to get down on my hands and knees to pick up and put it in the garbage. So we definitely need something to happen with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director English. Okay, any other directors? Siobhan?
I do have Robert Carroll, the General Services Director here. He can address the taller bins as well as the benches on the Serpentine Walk.
Okay, Mr. Carroll?
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, in regards to the taller bins, you may recall from previous updates that when CR&R took over the trash contract here in the village, and what they did is they evaluated what bins were available on the market to purchase for this contract. The bins that were available are the taller bins that you currently see. The lower profile bins aren't available to purchase on the market, so they provided those in the village to get the contract started. And in order to address that problem, what they're doing is they're buying raw materials and they're manufacturing their own bins. So at this point, they're manufacturing the lower profile bins and we're rolling them out throughout the community as people call in and request them. So there is a solution. It's not a perfect situation, obviously. We do see it as a problem, and we discuss this issue, this item on a weekly basis with CR&R, and we're getting the bids rolled out there. And in response to Ms. Rechtiger's concern, I've reached out to CR&R to find out what happened in this particular case, because the way it should work is you call in, you email, you get put on a list, and we get the bins out there. So it might be a training issue or communication issue that we have to work through, but we are going to work through it, and I can make sure that request gets prioritized. In regards to the green benches on the Serpentine Walkway, that's absolutely something we can look at. We can go and walk it and identify maybe how many benches would be appropriate for that location, what the cost would be, where they'd be situated, put a map together and share that with you.
Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome.
And also, I have Jose Campos, our Assistant Finance Director here, and he would like to address Mr. Beckett's comments, if you will,
Sure.
President.
Thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the property tax fund. Just to clarify, when assessments are collected for property tax, they are put into the operating account. And what was referred to has been referred to several times in the newspaper and different things about this missing $2 million. And just to put things in perspective, United pays approximately $12 million or about $1 million a month for property taxes. And that's what we collect. We collect $1 million every month. However, property taxes for the first half of the year are due in April. So we have 6 months worth, but we've only collected 4 months worth of assessments. So we simply borrow from the operating to pay for that property tax. So there is no missing money. It does come out of the operating assessments, and we do pay them every time on time. So I just wanted to make sure and clear that up. That had been cleared up before, but I just wanted to make sure that there's no misunderstanding there.
Thank you. Director Ascari, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, actually, first, two things. I want to remind you, Mr. President, if you go to 5C, is in front of you, page 2 of 2, we made a motion, and Director Black will try to say that one. I read it. Director Ascari made a motion to have VMS staff respond to open forum speaker and then chair or member of a specific committee will respond. Director Black will second it. Hearing no changes, the motion passed 7-1. That's why I wanted to remind everybody that why we are doing this one. And plus, we suppose that some of them need some research. We need some response from last month from BMS that people come, or maybe from forwarding, because some of them need to go to research, and then BMS might bring response next month. And I have two things Jose explained. I wanted to say that one. Thank you so much, Jose. Yes, I am as a treasurer and chair of the finance, that we collected all the money, property, and then goes to the operating account. And it has been like that. I am not sure that I heard that property has been in another separate account. That I did not know, and I don't know when that happened. But at this point, it's going to the operating, and we are paying every 12 million that collected, exactly paying $12 million at the end of the year. So no missing, as Jose explained, there is no missing $2 million. I want to confirm that one. And at the end, I want to thank about this storytelling in library. I think it's exciting, and whoever is behind that, I would like to thank them. I think it's a great opportunity for our residents. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Director Ascari. Director Torn.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to help our residents. This question is for Director of General Services. I understand you are working very hard and trying to solve the dumpster cabinet issue. However, what are the residents supposed to do at this point? Okay, it's difficult for them to lift it, and if they lift it, they may hurt themselves because it's too high. So the only alternative is to leave the garbage at the dumpster outside, okay, instead of throwing in there. Any other recommendation, or is this the only alternative we have at this point? Thank you very much for your response on that.
Thank you, Director Torn. Director Ross.
Thank you, Anthony. There were two issues that I picked up on. One of the...
Well, I have a question. Can I get an answer first? I have a question. Can I get an answer first? Or is that sometime going to be a little bit later?
All right, Director Carroll's Mr. Carroll's coming up to answer your question.
Yes, in terms of what can be done, it seems like residents, it's difficult, but it seems like most residents are working through it. One of the things I've heard from a resident is, she's throwing the bag up there with two hands instead of one hand and then dragging it over. So as far as recommendations, there's really not much other than that. The residents do seem to be working through it, and I don't mean to make light of it at all. Again, we do see it as a top priority in getting those out there to make it easier for residents.
And just a reminder to please call or email if you are in need of a smaller profile bin, and they will be delivered.
Absolutely.
I just have a comment that I'd like to make. Is there any way that we could just keep those bins open?
No, you can't do that. It's an environmental hazard, I would say. If it starts raining or something and it goes into that, that's the whole idea of covering them. I think that's my opinion.
Okay. I mean, it's just, they are so heavy. I have 2 shoulder replacements. I have a really hard time picking that up.
Right, we realize that, and again, it's a priority that we're speaking with CR&R in the city about every week to address it, and we'll keep doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
You're welcome.
Director Ross is next.
Thank you. Yeah, 2 issues that I picked up on. One of them was there was one of the callers, I don't have her manor number, but she was complaining of harassment over a period of years. So I'm hoping staff got their number and can look into it.
Absolutely, we have that all.
Please. And the second issue is Maxine brought up about solar coming to about 5 years program, and I think that staff was doing an updated report on that. Is that true? Or?
Yes, the M&C committee is looking at that, but we'll make sure that we get the feedback. back to everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Ross. Director Blackwell.
Yes, I believe Director Akakar is ready to read the responses from last month's. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, thanks.
You would like me to read it?
Siobhan,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I've got let's go to Director Bastani. Director Bastani, you have the floor.
Hi, can you hear me? Well, regarding the garbage bins, all my neighbors have been also complaining about it. I have a suggestion. Maybe for a short period, we can get some cheap step ladders made of wood or something so they can step on it and put the garbage inside the bins. It's up to VMS to evaluate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bastani. And Director Blackwell, what do you want to do?
Yes, in cul-de-sac 37, we have some helpful residents, and when they see a bag left beside there, they toss it in the right dumpster. The dumpsters we have are the standard commercial dumpsters that you see out beside stores and things, and I think that's why they got them. Probably there's nobody else in the world that needs a short dumpster than us. And so they were caught by surprise thinking they needed a big one, and so they bought all the standard size, and so they've got a plethora of those now, and what we need is a shorter one. So, but in cul-de-sac 37, there are several strong and tall guys of any age who just see if a bag or two is collected out there, they just toss it in the appropriate place. It's okay for them, and that's their good deed for the day for the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. I have only one comment. In my last life in operations, ladders were a big problem because there's a lot of exposure there. I'm not saying don't do it, but give it some good thought before we do it. Any other comments? All right, let's move on and follow our agenda. And the next thing on our agenda is VMS Board update from our Director, Manny Robledo. You have the floor, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's a pleasure to be here. Give an update on VMS activities. Today I'm going to focus on a little bit on operations and successes that we've had in that area. Not to overlook the work, the important work that's being done in resident communications, manor alterations, insurance, what have you, but in the spirit of gratitude that we heard earlier, let's look at some of the things that are working quite well. So next slide, please. With regard to maintenance and service orders in United, we have, for the month of May, about 13,000 service orders that were put in, and 91% of those were completed within 20 days. And the actual average was about 6 days. So that's pretty good, and I'll show some other trends that shows that it's an improvement. And some of the areas where we're exceeding the targets would be paving, paint, damage restoration. Next slide, please. So here's I'm not going to go through each line, but here's an example of the different things that are tracked and how quickly that they're being completed, 3 to 9 days. Next slide, please. And damage restoration does stand out as the higher 20-day one, but there is quite amount of work to do with that. Next slide, please. So that's the work that's being done, but then we do survey the residents to see how we did. And the survey sent out electronically, and I think they can do it in person as well, but at least from my experience, send out right away after the work's being completed. and it's rating from 1 to 5 stars, and we're experiencing like a 24% response rate out of the 9,000 surveys that were sent out. By 4% were responded, and VMS staff does look at all negative comments and is responsive to those. Next slide, please. So for May, in all the categories, we're well into the 4s. 4.5 is like the average. So for the overall experience, looks like we're about 4.6. How was your maintenance experience? 4.5. Next slide, please. Time to respond, 4.5. Employee courtesy, 4.8. Whether expectations were met, it's right around 4.5. So as I said, it's good news. Next slide, please. In addition to the work that's being done in the village for United, we have customer service walk-in statistics that we track, and looks like it's running about 6 minutes, so our staffing is able to get to each customer that walks in within 6 minutes. And that's within our goal of a less than 10-minute wait time, and less than 8 minutes spent with each customer. Next slide, please. For resident services, for maintenance telephone calls, we have 2-minute hold time, average hold time, and 87% answer rate. I had to ask what an answer rate is. That is when the customer service representative gets to the call before they hang up. So I guess about 13% do hang up, and hopefully they call back. But it is a high rate of responsiveness with regard to the phone-in. Broadband telephone calls have similar results, a little bit higher than the maintenance calls. Next slide, please. So in addition to the satisfaction and the work being done, we do have some initiatives in the Human Resources Department to fill the staffing gaps that we have as a result of the work shortages or the workforce shortages. So we've incorporated some things like ZipRecruiter, Craigslist, Hispanic newsletters, college and Parks and Recreation outreach, and also increased the number of opportunities that can be for part-time workers for our residents. Our bylaws prevent residents from working full-time, but we've kind of broken up some of the jobs to allow part-time workers to work the jobs that are difficult to be filled. So then finally, for retention and for recognizing the workers that we do have and the good work that's being done, recently we had an employee recognition breakfast, and it was very well received, very successful. After COVID, it was discontinued because of COVID, but now it's back. Next slide, please. So here's some statistics with regard to processing resales and the efficiency there. We have implemented some things like e-filing with the county clerk that have helped. And you can see the trend. The second thing, from January, it was an average of 33 days, and now in May it's down to 23 days. So we have marked improvement. And as I said, in the other areas, we're looking for continuous improvement. Finally, we have some other efficiencies where we're looking for additional sources of income by the next slide, please. Within the communications areas, these are cost savings that are the result. About $65,000 is cost savings as a result of efficiencies that were put into place. So anyway, that concludes my report. Just a little bit of highlight of the good news that's going on and the work that's been going on. And I personally have experienced really responsive maintenance in my unit. And I think the statistics show that there's some good things going on. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Manny. We'll
Yes.
start with the people here at the board. Director Lee, please. You
I have
the
a
floor.
question. when the surveys were sent, we had a 24% response rate. Is it average or is it considered?
We think that's pretty strong, actually, for a customer service
Oh, it
satisfaction
is,
survey.
okay.
Yeah, not everyone sees them, but yeah, 25% response rate, it's pretty good.
Thank you. Director Ross.
So this is very impressive. Thank you very much for preparing it. It's a good report. My question is, in the United completed service orders, year-to-date through May, the first chart, it shows really good results through May. I'm just wondering if that trend is getting better over January, February, March, and April to get to May, or and simply you could complete a chart showing what the results were in January and February monthly, and it would show the numbers going up or down. That would help clear that up.
May I ask our...
We can certainly do that moving forward, and thank you for that feedback. We're trying to refine this process to be as meaningful to you as possible. I think it's safe to say the trends have been pretty static as we've moved through the first 6 or 5 months of the year.
Okay.
But we'll do that moving forward. Thank you, Lenny.
Okay, and the second point is that on the next page where it shows work order satisfaction survey, around 24% response rate, 2,249 responses received, and it says that all negative comments are followed up, and I suppose negative comments mean 2 stars or less. Do you have any idea how many 2 stars we've gotten to January through May of the 2,249? Is it? I'm sure it's a small number.
It is a small number. I don't have the exact number. And another thing I do want to mention is that we're starting to track the trends. What do we see amongst those low ratings so we can improve our services? Okay. So we'll report on that the next time as well.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else here? Director Ascari.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Already, actually, I think Shiban doing great job to giving this report to us. Thank you so much first. And second, I had the, I understand it's high, it's 25% responded, but my question is, what is the process to encourage people to respond more? And I give you example about myself. 2 months ago, I went to the doctor, and then I received an email right away, how was my visit? That was from my insurance. I didn't respond to it, honestly. I wasn't a good customer. But then, a few days later, I received a letter. Of course, the letter right now is sitting in my desk. And 2 days ago, somebody called me. I was impressed that they asked me how was my feeling and then environment, was clean or not, and all of those questions. And I told them at the end that I gave 5 stars to them for following and get my information because they send email, they send letter, and then they called me. I think that shows how they want to improve their service and keep the customer. Of course, VMS knows that their customer is sitting here maybe for years. They're not going anywhere. But satisfaction is a good point for them. I want to hear what is the policy or a strategy for getting more than 25%. That means 3/4 of people didn't respond, and we don't know what is their grade. So I appreciate if you share with us that strategy, Shiban. Thank you.
Director Asghari, we've been talking about this on a staff level. I think it was raised by one of the other boards last month on how to incentivize people to participate. So that is something we are looking at, whether it's offering a lottery system where we offer free tickets to an event or something, but some way to incentivize participation, and we're looking at that presently.
Is it possible education, like in the TV, some program or newspaper or something?
That's a great idea as well.
Education? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ascari. Director Torn.
Thank you, Chair. Share the thoughts on this VMS practice at this point. I understand there's a good completion rate response to the residents' request. However, I've heard complaints about from residents that they were told that their case will be closed because the ticket is issued to the staff. The ticket will be closed before it's done. And I'm wondering, is that a standard practice or is it some mistake over there? And also there were residents that said that their ticket were closed and nothing was done. And they had to call in and find out, instead of waiting there, they called in and find out it's already closed. So my question at this point, is it possible to provide feedback to the residents? Okay, this doesn't have to be getting staff involved. This needs to be an email or something automatic voicemail left with the residents and say, we are still following up on your request and we will have an answer pretty soon. Or if it's closed, send an email or voicemail and say, according to our record, your request has been closed, has been completed. That way, if they are not just waiting there, I heard a lot of residents say they've been waiting for 2-3 months. And I'm not sure whether it's still open or not, or it's because it's already closed and they are not aware of that. So is there any way we can have a follow-up on those requests? We do a great job on them. So if it's closed and we send them a message that says it's closed, they will be more than happy to appreciate that they've been notified and they go out and check if everything's fine. Okay, if it's everything taken care of. Okay.
Director?
The second thing is based on my past calculation analysis that we have more tickets coming in than we can handle. All right. So if there's any trend as far as tickets received each week or each month, and how many of them closed each month, and how many outstanding counts at the end of each month, that will give us a trend as far as whether we have enough staff to take care of things or not. Based on my last calculation, we have, and based on your information, it's 8,600. It's a year. That's 700 tickets a month, but we can only finish about 72 tickets a week. Okay, that's about 280 to maybe 300. So there's no way we can catch up. And what is the plan? Is this still the same way, or have we made improved or not?
Thank you, Director Torn. Your time is up. Sean, do you want to respond to that?
Yes.
Can I see the time?
No, your time is up.
According to my clock, I'm not up. I'm not. I still have time.
You're out of order. You're out of order. You're out of order.
With respect to the first question about tickets being closed before the work has been done, we are taking another look at that. What we have been doing is closing those when the work has been scheduled. For instance, tree trimming may be 2 or 3 months out. And so that is one of the trends that we've observed. So we're taking a look at that and how we can do that better. And then secondly, in terms of trends and having enough staff to do the work and so forth, that is something that we are always looking at, but I don't think we have insufficient staff to do the work.
May I say
Thank you, Siobhan. All right,
Mr. Chair, may I say something?
Yes, Mr. Robledo, our Director Robledo, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You got the floor.
With regard to the first question, this report was on things that were done and how we did when they were done. I think the first question had more to do with resident communications and how we interact with the residents. And as I said, and when I started this, that some good work's being done. We've identified as a strategic priority. And maybe our general manager can talk about the communications plan that's in the works for that.
Yes, as I believe all the board members know, part of our strategic plan includes always trying to improve customer service. And one thing we are tasked with doing is developing a customer service improvement plan, if you will. I believe it's a CSIP, if we're using the acronym. And that is coming forth this summer. And all factors will be considered, but as Director Robledo mentions, communication is key.
So that may include things like follow-up and know that you're in line, acknowledgement of your receipt of your request, and just to keep people abreast of where their ticket is in the works.
Thank you, Director Robledo. Nothing here on the floor, so I'm going to move on to item number 10, which is the CEO report. Siobhan, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Liberatore, and I'll try to be brief this morning. But I wanted to share some of the fun and exciting events that are upcoming that our residents may want to be involved with. The first is free Monday movies. There are free movies at the Performing Arts Center on Mondays. Doors open at 1:45 and the movies begin at 2 p.m. Again, it's free admission and no tickets are required. Some of the upcoming movies include June 20th, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, July 11th, King Richard, July 18th, Belfast, and August 15th, The House of Gucci. There is a Father's Day brunch on Sunday, June 19th at 11 a.m. in Clubhouse 5. Tickets are now on sale at the Clubhouse 5 office. The price is $29 for adults, $14.50 for children's ages 6 to 10, and free for children age 5 and under. We're also celebrating residents 90 years of age and older, featuring a sit-down luncheon and a performance by harpist Brian Noel. This will take place on June 21st, which is a Tuesday, at 11:30 a.m. at Clubhouse 5. It is free for our residents age 90 and older, and $21 per guest. Tickets are on sale in the Clubhouse 5 office. 4th of July festivities, the Independence holiday is coming sooner than we know it. Please celebrate the day with a golf cart parade, a Stone Soul concert, games, and more. The golf cart parade starts at 11 a.m. at Clubhouse 5 and ends at Clubhouse 2. Parade registration is via the ActiveNet online reservation system. At Clubhouse 2, there will be various festivities. Stone Soul performs, and then resident bands will perform until 6 p.m. There are children's activities from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Summer Splash Days is back. Kids can make a splash this summer in Pool 2 on July 8th and August 12th from noon to 4 p.m. The cost is $5 for children ages 2 and older, free for infants and adults. Admission includes swimming, water slide, games, ice cream, and soda. You can purchase your wristband at the Clubhouse 2 office or the Recreation office here in the Community Center. And the remaining events at the Performing Arts Center, all events have been scheduled. This includes July 9th, the Southbound and Company will perform. On August 20th, Queen Nation will perform. October 1st, Who's Zeppelin. And on New Year's Eve, there will be a great entertainment planned. Tickets are available on our website at lagunawoodsvillage.com, or you can visit the PAC box office Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to noon. Lastly, I have one newsworthy item. The 2023 annual reservation lottery is going to begin tomorrow. You can reserve your 2023 dates at village facilities for your special and club events. Beginning tomorrow, June 15th, you can pick up your lottery cards in the Recreation office or email reservation requests to recreation@vmsinc.org. Completed lottery cards or requests must be submitted by Friday, July 15th at 5 p.m. Participants will be notified of their secured reservations by September 1st. And that concludes my update this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. All right, item number 11, Director Casey.
Yeah, just a question for Siobhan. So I don't have my grandchildren here anymore.
Microphone.
I don't have my grandchildren here anymore, but I remember I used to take them to the pool in the summer, and I think it was every day at Clubhouse too. Can you still do that?
Pool 6 is the children's swimming
so you
pool.
can still do that. All right, great, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Director English.
Yes, I would just like to say that I attended the free movie yesterday in Clubhouse 3. It was all about Guernsey during the war the Second World War. And it was very good. And there were quite a few people attending it. So I think that's a good program to have going. Thank you.
Thank you, Director English. Seeing nothing else here. Director Torn.
Director Torn has a question. Director Torn has a comment.
Well, Director Torn, I just acknowledged you. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the report of all the events that Savani just mentioned. I really appreciate that, all the activities that keep us young and active. You mentioned that tickets are closed when they are scheduled. However, we need to measure and complete when the residents signed off of the work, because there's a time lag in between that shows the performance of VMS. If we just close whenever they schedule that, the time will be superficially high. Okay, that's why our customer satisfaction, that's our duration of work request is so high, but it doesn't count how much time it takes. And also another one, customer satisfaction is how much time does it take for the resident to feel that they are paying attention to. We don't communicate to them. Once they're scheduled, we just let them go and then close it. So it is necessary that we complete or close the ticket when the resident signed off. Is there any way we can make it happen that way? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Torn. Director Ascari, you have the floor.
May I have an answer on that?
I'll let Siobhan answer that. After we talk to Director Ascari, you'll get your answer. Director Ascari, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I received a few emails from residents, and I promised them to ask. They ask why Monday movie moved from evening to the 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock is still, they said residents had lots of other obligation and things, and movie was at the evening. I am asking Shiban to answer that one. I am guessing it's because of the lack of staff that we have, but that was my guess. But I promised them to bring this one up in the meeting. So I hope they can hear me that I fulfill my promise. Shivan, I appreciate if you answer that one to our residents.
I would prefer to get you a firm answer from the Recreation Department. Part of my logic, however, is that we had a very successful, we called it Summer Heat Wave series before pandemic, where the movies took place at the PAC during the afternoon to give people the opportunity to get out of the heat. So I will get you a firm answer. Thank you.
And
thank you so much.
Could you deal with the Director Torrance?
Director Robledo and I already answered his question. We told him we were looking at this and that we will report back. It's one of our strategic objectives. So thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Moving on to item number 11, consent calendar. Now, the consent calendar are all matters listed on this document or the consent calendar are issues that have been considered and recommended to this board by committees for approval. So we can approve them one at a time or look over them one at a time. But since we already have acknowledged the existence of the agenda as written, there will be no deletions from it. So let's do this one at a time then. On A.
I move the consent calendar, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Director.
And B, A, B, and C.
Director Blackwell has moved to accept the consent calendar A through C. Is that correct?
Yes.
A, B, and C.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Director English has seconded. So the motion's on the floor to accept the consent calendar as written. So let's take a vote. All in favor of that motion?
I have a question. Can
Yeah.
I ask a question? You know, the ad hoc committee and the advisors, Where is that in this? Should that be in that consent calendar?
Telephone, please, microphone, please.
You're out
I
of
can't hear
order.
you.
Do not have the floor. Now behave yourself.
Item 11D is on the consent calendar. It's update committee appointments. So it should be A through D.
Okay. So,
Oh, I'm sorry, A through D, you're
so
correct.
we don't talk about that at all? The ad hoc?
No, wait a minute, no. We have a motion on the floor that only goes to A
Through D,
to C, right? We didn't
through
mention D.
D,
G is on there.
was all of them.
Okay, the motion on the floor is what then?
All of the consent
We
calendar.
can't hear you discussion. Microphone, please.
All of the consent calendar. I moved all of the consent calendar as a whole, as is usually done. Thank you.
Out of order.
We have an order here to move, we have a motion on the floor to accept the consent calendar as written, A through D. Do we have a second?
Out of order, Mr. President. Can I say why?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, consent calendar comes, as you mentioned, from committee. Number D did not come from committee. In the prep presentation, we all were there. And because the situation of one director wasn't clear at that time, you mentioned that we put off this one to the next month, and we all voted for that. And when I saw this one here as a consent calendar, I was shocked. I don't know who is changing and who is responsible for putting things. We all were, and actually I was in the prep meeting, and we voted for this item goes to the next month until you get back from that director and make sure that everything is okay. So I have a complaint about this, and this should suppose based on our vote goes to the next month meeting.
Okay, Director Ascari, so there's a very simple solution for that, just vote against it. Thank you.
Well, then,
Director Casey has the
motion is to
floor.
vote everything.
Director
You cannot-
Casey has the
Line
floor.
item veto.
Director Casey has the floor. Director Casey.
Well,
Put on the microphone, please.
Michaela said that the ad hoc committee and the appointment of the advisors would be
Cannot hear.
would be part of D. So if it is, could we move D to its own thing?
No, we can't move D right now because we approved the agenda as written.
All right.
So we have to vote it down. Vote the whole consent calendar down. All right, so let's go with the vote. With the motion on the floor is approve the consent calendar as written, A through D.
Out of order, Mr. President. In the past, we had this finance on the consent calendar. When we explained, you move it to the unfinished business. There is nothing wrong.
Yeah, but you're wrong. Director Ascari, we approved the menu, the agenda as written. It's out of order now to try to move it. It's out of order.
Mr. President.
So we're going to go on with the
President,
vote. All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by raising your hand.
Mr. President,
One, two,
I don't want to
three.
be in one committee. I don't want to be in that committee.
Four.
Please don't force us.
All right, let's have the vote from the, we have 4, is that right? 4 positive so far?
What's next?
1, 2,
Before voting, let me talk.
then Director Torn, how do you vote?
I vote no, because.
All right, Director, we have a no vote. Director Ascari, how is your vote?
Mr. President, this is not about vote.
It is about a vote. There's a motion. If you know Robert's rules, there's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. We've had debate, and now we're having a vote. What is your vote?
No, we didn't have a debate. We
Mr.
never had a
President, we
debate.
didn't have debate. You make the motion. I don't have any problem with recommendation from landscape. I don't want
The
to
motion
vote.
is a valid motion, and it's been seconded. It has been
the
seconded.
motion
Do you
is-
want to
it
continue debate?
cannot be from, Mr. President, you are going against the law.
No, I'm
Against
not
the
going
bylaw.
against the law. I'm the only one here who has any knowledge of Robert's rules or Davis Sterling. So don't tell me I'm going against the law. I know what the law is. There's a motion
We
on
are
the floor.
appreciate.
There's a
May I-
motion
may I
on the
ask one
floor.
more
It's been
clarification
seconded.
during
We're
the
going to
agenda
dispose of the motion right now.
My,
Azar, how do you vote?
You're out of order. Out of order. Let's
No, I
vote.
am
What's your
not
vote?
out of
We have
order,
one.
Mr.
What's your vote, Director Ascari?
Vote for what? You are not telling us. Vote
What's
for
your
what.
vote?
Vote for what? Vote for what?
The consent calendar as it
Consent
is.
calendar cannot be all together. I am
Let's
yes
go
for
for
the
it.
recommendation of landscape.
Yes, we
I
can.
am okay with
Then you
recommendation.
vote.
Well, you're wrong.
Let's vote.
A motion has been made on the
Line
floor.
item
We're
vote.
directing on the motion, not on your opinion about the consent calendar. And the motion is to approve the consent
It's not
calendar
my
as
opinion.
written.
You-
Now, we already began the
put
voting
me in the
process. I have
committee
4
that I don't
positive
want
votes
to
and
be.
1 negative vote. What is your vote?
My vote
President,
is
you are
I
out of
don't
order.
want to be in a committee.
Director
that
Bastani,
votes-
what is your vote?
Oh my goodness, I don't want to be in a
We
Hello?
committee.
need to,
Director
I don't want to
Bastani,
be
can
in
we
a
have your
committee.
vote, please?
is
We've
wrong.
agreed that consent calendar
recess.
be discussed. We cannot put it in.
Director Bastani,
Committee
let me
assignment.
say one more time, there is a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. If you don't like the motion, then vote no. We don't need any
Motion
lectures.
is out of order.
You're out of order. You don't have the floor.
Recess.
Mr. President, please listen to us, please.
No,
All I
you-
am asking,
listen.
it is in your favor. It is in your favor, Mr. President. I want to take my name off. Honestly, it's in your favor. I am not. If you listen, I know what you are in your mind. I don't want to put in that committee. I want just to take my name off. I am offering you to take my name off and put your name. I am in your favor. That's all I am asking. I want you being
Well,
that.
the thing is, we're not asking, don't you understand there is a motion
But
on
you
the floor?
offering-
It has been
Mr.
seconded, and now we're asking
Mr.
for the
Pres-
vote. What
Mr.
don't you
President.
understand about that?
Mr. President, the committee appointment is only recommended by the chair. And if we are voting is accept, I am
No.
saying your recommendation for me is I don't want to be in that committee. I want you be in that committee. Is it clear what I am saying? I want you be in web committee, and that's the only difference from this one and last one, and I am in your favor. And I am saying you be in that. I don't know how many times I need to say
So are
that.
you abstaining from voting on this motion?
I am abstaining for this one, yes, as long as you take my name out
Okay.
of that committee. Why you are against
One
the
abstention.
bylaw?
4 yeses, 1 abstention. What's next?
What is that?
Well, you have an abstention, and we have 4 ayes, and how many nays? Director Bastani, are you voting or not?
Committee assignment should not be on consent calendar. We've
Yes.
discussed this before.
Well, then vote no.
It's
What's
gotta
your
be-
problem?
It's got to be discussed. Committee assignment has to be discussed.
Well, the
not
option is the
voted as-
motion's on the floor, and if you don't
Here.
like the motion, you
Here,
think
please
it's incorrect,
listen.
then you vote against
Here,
it.
please listen. You misunderstood.
You're
the
out of
whole thing.
order.
Here.
There's a motion
Listen.
on the floor. There's a motion on the floor that calls for a vote. It's been properly seconded. And we've already started the voting process.
President Liberatore, can I
Here,
go
you're
over
not
the,
listening.
There.
can I go over the votes just to make sure I have
Yes.
it
Yes.
accurate? Okay.
Go over the votes.
That's-
So I have Director English as yes. Director Asgari abstains. Director Darni is absent.
I am not abstaining.
Director Blackwell as yes. Director Bastani is no. Director Casey is no. Director Ross is yes. Director Aktrakar is yes. Director Lee is yes. And Director Torn is no.
So the,
I am no. I am
so
not.
the yeses have the vote, is that correct?
I'm sorry,
Do the
Mayor,
yeses
you were
have the
interrupted.
majority?
What's the vote?
So then the vote would be, let me double check here. It passed 5-3.
All right, consent calendar passed 5-3.
Thank you.
That is very wrong. Take my name off of that meeting.
You're out of order. You're out of
You are
order.
forcing
You're out of
vote
order.
against
You're
my
out of
law.
order. You're out of order.
All right.
All right, let's move on.
Could I make a comment? May I?
Yes, Director English, you have the floor.
I do believe that by having some people doing the boom stuff and then us doing this here is one of the causes of the problems that we have all the time. And I would strongly suggest that we all get together, and this is where we have the meeting, unless someone's away for a particular sickness or absence.
This is
Thank
12A. She's speaking to 12A, actually. We
Okay.
are on 12A.
So we move on to item number 12 is unfinished business. And item A, Director Blackwell, would you read that?
Okay. 12A says, where there is no legal requirement in the bylaws, civil code, or corporation code for board and committee meetings to be conducted by video conference, or that boards make video conference attended available to directors, there are no laws requiring that. As of April 12, 2022, open meeting of the board directors expressed an interest in conducting future board and committee meetings in person and/or by video conference. Now therefore, June 14th today, the board of directors of this corporation hereby authorizes that future board and committees be conducted in hybrid format, allowing for director participation in person and/or by video conference by a Zoom or virtual platform. Resolved further, the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution for which allows hybrid meetings. I move this resolution.
So 12A has been moved by Director Blackwell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Director Ross has seconded the motion. Now we'll open it up for debate. Who wants to speak on the motion here? Nobody. Okay, Director Bastandi, do you want to speak on the motion? Director Ascari, do you want to speak on the motion?
Yes, Mr. President. This is a benefit of occasion. One of them is right now today. The reason, as you know, that I was present there for the this year all board meeting. Today I am not because I had a symptom of the cold, which hopefully be only cold, and that's why I can contribute my duties as director online. If you force me, and if Director English force me, I will drive there and give a big hug to her, and then be in that closed boardroom with you and pass, if by chance, if I have cold symptoms, to all of you. This is a protection for everyone, and going forward, as you know, COVID still is keep going. And if somebody has symptoms, they can be online and do their duties and give their vote, but make a safe place for other people be there. And as she said, is because of the Zoom? No, it wasn't because of the Zoom. Because of some things, if it is against by law, we're gonna defend. It doesn't matter I am in the Zoom or I am in the person. So this is at the benefit for occasion, especially when directors are sick, and it should be passed. My vote is yes for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ascari. I don't see any other hands raised.
President Liberatore, there is a speaker request.
Okay.
It's Maxine Mcintosh Manor 68C.
Maxine McIntosh, welcome to the kiosk.
We have heard during many meetings now, people at home and people here speaking, and I don't think that some of the people, the board members at home, realize how horribly they sound. They get a little excited and the voice goes really loud and it constantly sounds like an argument instead of an attempt to reach a good agreement of some kind. I am against this. I think that the state laws, the county laws, the city laws, and our village laws have all been lifted about masks and staying away and staying out of groups and so forth. And you've built in so much protection here. This is probably the safest place a lot of the board members could be any time of the day, is right here in their seats. I think we should have a standard board meeting. We should acknowledge that there are no rules saying that we cannot, that is in the past, that's in history, so that we have a better moving meeting. I think if these people at home, if some of them could hear how horribly they sound, and I'm trying to hear them. I want to hear what they have to say, but it gets all out of hand. And I think when you're in your own home environment, you feel more empowered to get loud and to become argumentative. Maybe that happens, I don't know. But it's not good for the village. Please, let's think of what's best for United Mutual. We really need to have everyone here in their seats, like we've always done. And if you're sick, stay home. But don't use this as an excuse to sleep in later, to not have to get ready to go, and so forth. Whatever may be, I'm not accusing, but whatever may be involved, I'm trying to guess. I want to hear everybody when they're speaking, but I want to hear them here at the board meeting, not in their homes. That's not where board members belong at this time. They belong here. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Director Casey.
Yeah, I am for this motion. I am for this motion because many meetings are virtual. I mean, a lot of GRF meetings are virtual, and I'm on a lot of committees just because no one else would step up. And so I attend some meetings virtually, and I think in my landscape meeting, I was in Idaho, and I was able to attend. They're very, very good. Just because some people have bad behavior and overtake the meeting, is not a reason to, prevent other people from attending a good meeting. I was just in the VMS meeting, and a lot of people were on that meeting virtually, and they all were orderly. Nobody behaves like our board. Nobody. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Casey. Director Blackwell. Remember, now we're talking about a motion.
Right. I do approve of this motion. I feel that we must make our best effort, and it is best for the board, the more of us that can be present. But I don't think being present and being online can be required to be present. It allows so many people in so many instances to make a meeting that otherwise they could not make. I think it's worth it. I think our people need to learn how to behave better when they're not present here, but that doesn't mean that everybody is behaving well that's present either all the time. So the better we get at behaving well, the better this will work. And I believe we should have this so that we have an opportunity to do both. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. Director Lee.
Well, I'm for in-person meeting, especially at least once a month, board meeting. I know that many committee meetings are done online, and and it can be done very effectively. But it seems like whenever we have board meeting on with the hybrid meetings, things get out of order, and we get carried away. We get very emotional. But I think if we are here in person, we have a better idea, and also we have faced our residents here, and I think we tend to be more careful, and we pay attention to the topics, and we can move our meeting more smoothly. So I am for in-person meeting, at least monthly board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lee. Michaela.
There are a few more speakers for this topic, if that's okay.
Well, let's see, anybody here on the board? Board's okay, let's take those speakers, please.
Okay, so we have...
Andre wants to speak. Andre has his hand up.
I didn't see your hand up. Director Torn, you have the floor.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this issue. We are looking at contributions, okay? We are not looking at the personal appearance. Okay? As long as the contribution is there, that's fine enough. We are all volunteers. We are all retired.
Let me remind you, Director Torn, you're not to mention anybody's name, and you're direct your comments to the chair, please.
What name did I mention?
Continue. You have the floor. I want to remind you.
Okay, you can remind me everything you want. Anything else you want to remind me?
Yeah, behave yourself.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all. That's all. Please don't remind me anything any further. Okay. So in this case, what we're talking about is the contribution. Okay. We need people contribute, like how to improve the servers, how to save the money. Okay. So when our issues are not related to that, it tends to cause a lot of arguments. Okay. Because it's arbitrary. That's not our fiduciary responsibility. It is very important that everybody, all the board members contribute to the fiduciary responsibility rather than arguing on issues that are out of order or, we need to follow the same order all the time instead of randomly, this time we follow this way, the other time we follow that way. We have this discussion, okay, but during the consent calendar, we didn't follow the same discussion, okay, and they just quickly go through it and vote. So that is the reason for the argument, all right? We need to follow the same rules, okay, for everybody to feel comfortable with it. Thank you very much, and I hope that from now on we can have reasonable discussions, peaceful discussions, follow the same rules all the time, all right? Thank you.
Thank you, Director Torn. No more board members want to talk, so we'll go to the call-ins. Go ahead, Michaela, you have it.
Yes, so we have 2 in-person speakers and then 1 on Zoom. So we'll do the in-person first. It's Elsie Addington, Manor 2121Q.
Elsie, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome back, safe and sound. I agree with everything Diane was saying. However, I'm with Pearl on if I were on the board, which I'm not. I'm just commenting as a resident. It's the Zoom thing that I find so objectionable at so many of these board meetings, and it's specifically Zoom, and it's not Zoom's fault, but it's hard to do in person. And I had my hand up. Well, I didn't see your hand up. There's the crossover between Granicus and the Zoom. And if you stop and think, you old timers, in the day before the COVID, if somebody had a health issue, say they were infectious with whatever, or they were in China, say, or on vacation, say, and they wanted to attend the meeting, I know you did it a couple times, Cash. We do it by phone. There's a conference call system, and that conference call system worked flawlessly with the in-person system, and we didn't have all this. Well, my hand was raised. Well, I didn't see it. Well, I'm not hearing anything. Well, you're too loud. That's so much of our meetings. Today hasn't been really even that bad technologically, but all know what I'm talking about. So I agree with exactly what you're saying. And when you had some other obligations and were able to attend meetings, Zoom was certainly a godsend, but you could have done it on your phone as well. That's all I'm saying. And you wouldn't have had this conflict and the extra staff time and the frustration of the people watching. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Elsie Addington from GRF, resident here. And who's next?
Yep, Mary Stone Manor 356C.
Mary.
Yes,
Welcome.
Mary Stone, 356C. It's nice to see you all in person, and I would like to see all of you here for board meetings in person. I am 100% against having all committee meetings and board meetings virtual or hybrid. I believe that committee meetings should be done, in either format. However, because the board meetings are the meetings that are conducted as a result of the recommendations and all from committee meetings, I think they should be done in person because it's important. Now, yes, if somebody has a cold or something in the past, we have allowed that. That is allowed by law. I think this whole resolution is out of order. I think it should be not passed and let what we have done in the past work. It has worked in the past where board members attend the board meetings in person.
Thank you, Mary. Next.
Next up is Richard Rader. I'll pull him in from Zoom right now.
Mr. Rader, you have the floor.
Thank you. I think we're losing sight of why this came about, the resolution. The purpose of this resolution was not to try to force board members to attend meetings. Even if you don't pass this resolution, they still have the right to call in. There is no reason why this resolution is going to force board members to attend in person. While I agree that they should, this resolution has nothing to do with that. What this resolution was about and why it came about was to allow more participation by the 12,000 plus residents. If you vote yes for this, then you are improving transparency and participation by residents. That's what it's about. Vote yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Rader. Anybody else, Michaela?
I still have 1 minute. Can I take that? No, I don't want to hold it. I'm sorry. Thought I was done too fast. Exactly to Dick's observation, there's Granicus. Because of course we want our people to, our residents to see what we're doing and listen to what we're doing. And if they can't get here for whatever reason, and that's why this is always recorded on Granicus, right? I mean, I guess if you don't have a computer, that's the only time. What? Tell me.
Okay,
Oh, that's
let's
right.
come
They
to
can't.
order.
They can't
Let's come to
participate
order
anyway
here.
if they don't have a computer. So I'm sorry. That's all I wanted to say was residents can always watch Granicus.
Thank you.
That's what I was going to add.
Thank you. Michaela,
One thing I just forgot to put in is you'll have to look at our mutual bylaws. The number of meetings you can miss is restricted legally in our bylaws. And since year after year after year after year, that has always implied that you would be here in person and you would only miss if you were traveling or ill. And so you need to check the bylaws. You may be, forced to change a bylaw if you try to pass this. Thank you.
thank you, Maggie. Michaela, do we have anybody else?
No, that is it.
Are we ready for the vote? Oh,
I
Director Casey.
have another comment.
Director
another
Casey,
comment.
Director
Thank you.
Casey has the floor. Director Casey.
My comment is sometimes when we have to have a quorum, and Anthony is looking for people. They can come in on the Zoom, which has helped with the quorum and keeping a meeting on track. So, I know the last meeting we had an individual that was on the Zoom who was here in the meeting, and he did the same thing in the meeting. And people sent out emails about how horrible our meeting was. So we have to conduct ourselves orderly. And I know sometimes I respond bad too. So anyway, we have to have a decorum. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Casey. Director Torn.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this issue. I think the most important thing is that the law says you have to attend the meeting. It doesn't say you have to attend the meeting personally, okay? So even if with online, we are attending the meeting personally, we just do a different media. So it is a misunderstanding, and I'm kind of confused as far as, all these issues, that sometimes people get confused about the issues related. They just relate them randomly, okay? The argument is not related to online. The argument is related to conduct of the meeting, the president's behavior that sometimes they allow the discussion after the move. Sometimes it doesn't allow the discussion of the move. That's where it caused the problem. So if we made it consistently, I can guarantee you that it will be conducted orderly. Let's conduct the meeting the same way all over the place for every item. Then we will not have this kind of issue. Thank you very much. Let's just focus on make sure they are related instead of your personal fear, or that's too much for the board to handle. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Torn. Is there any more discussion? Or
We do have a resident who's requesting to speak in Zoom.
Okay. Who is that resident?
Richard Rader.
Mr. Rader, you have the floor. This is your second time now.
Can you hear me? Yes. Hello?
Yes.
Okay. I believe Director Torn was correct when he said that a person can attend the board meeting, a director can attend the board meeting by other means. Again, this resolution has nothing to do with board members attending meetings. And a statement was made that people can follow on Granicus. I believe if you're on Granicus, you cannot do what I'm doing right now, offering an opinion or a thought, but you can if it is on Zoom. And so, again, speaking for the residents, I believe that this should pass. And the argument that, hands aren't raised, or this has to do with hands being raised. This has to do with residents participating. Please pass this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Rader. I make a motion to move the previous question, and that's a motion to end debate, and I need a second and a 2/3 majority, or we continue to debate. So I made a motion to move the previous question. I have a second from Director Ross. Now we need a 2/3 vote. We'll start here in the boardroom. Director English, do you want?
No.
You
Her vote, that's her vote.
okay, no? Director Blackwell?
Yes.
Director Casey, yes. Director Ross, yes. Director Ash, right. Director Lee?
No.
All right, you got that, Mikhail? So we have 2 no's so far. Director Ascari, how do you vote on this motion to end debate?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Director Ascari. Director Bastani, how do you vote on this motion? You're muted.
Go ahead.
Director Bastani, you're muted. Would like to see how you want to vote on this motion to end debate.
He's not voting.
You're still muted.
I vote yes. Okay,
Director
sounds
Torn,
good.
thank you. You vote yes, and we're trying to give Director Bastani the opportunity to express his opinion on this motion. Director Bastani, if you're trying to get a hold of us, you're still muted according to the monitor sitting in front of me.
He's probably in the bathroom.
Yeah, right.
Oh, thanks for
He's
sharing.
absent. Well, Anthony, he's obviously absent. Go ahead. That's it. He's not.
All right, so he's not voting. So Michaela, do you have the score for us on the vote?
Yes, the motion passed 6-2.
All right, the motion passes 6-2. Okay, shall we move on now? Let's go to 12B.
Don't we vote now?
Oh, yeah.
No,
What?
we should move.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
vote.
No, she's right. I was just, the motion is to end debate. Now we're going to we're going to vote on the motion for the 12A, right? So let's go. Director Blackwell, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Casey?
Yes.
Director Ross?
No.
Director Cash Akrakar? Yes. Director Lee?
Yes.
Director English?
Not now. I think you meant.
Yes, my vote is no.
Director Ascari?
Yes.
Thank you, Director. Director Bastani, still on mute. Director Torn?
Yes.
Thank you, Director Torn. All right, so we have approved 12A. Let's move on to 12B. And, you know, normally the secretary is supposed to read these, but I'm going to ask the secretary is called in sick, and I appreciate that. I appreciate any director that lets me know that they can't attend the meeting. So who can read B for us? And I only have one eye, so I don't do a good job. Go ahead, Director Blackwell, you want to read B? 12B for us?
12C.
It's 12.
12B.
Banana. Okay. Let me see.
This is not a written report. It never is. It's,
Oh, there is no?
It's listed on the agenda.
Oh. Oh, yes, this is 5501. Consistent with its statutory obligations under Civil Code 5501, a subcommittee of the board consisting of the treasurer and at least one other board member, that would be Casey, reviewed the United Laguna Woods Mutual preliminary financials for the months of February, March, and April. Such review is hereby ratified. I move this resolution.
Your comment, including my name, I'm not one of the.
Oh, you're not? Okay, I'm sorry. Who was the other director?
Excuse me. Can I answer that one?
Yes, Director Ascari, you have the floor.
Yes. No. I am in the many sessions with the CFO, and we are discussing this one, and it will be ratified very soon, next month, but not at this moment. It is in the process, and I receive answers, and it is a processing time. That's all I can say right now.
All right, since Director Ascari, since you talked on the motion, do you want to say any more on the motion? We're going to go around the table.
I'll withdraw the motion.
There is no, Mr. President, there is no motion for this. This is just a ratified with
Well,
what
if
is
I
ratified.
remember correctly, Director Blackwell moved it, did she not?
Yes, it is on the unfinished business. So I can remove my motion.
Okay, you
Withdraw
can.
my motion.
You can remove
So
it.
that means next month we will have May, let's see.
It would
May-
be February, March, April,
February,
and May.
March, April, May, June. Are we really doing this 5501?
Yes, we are doing, it is in the process. They are cooperating. I received answer. We are working on that. Please do not rush, Mrs. Blackwell.
So my understanding is Director Blackwell has removed her motion, is
Yes.
that correct?
Withdrawn, yes, thank you.
Okay. So what do we want to do with this? We're going to send this?
Oh, well, now we just withdrew it. So nothing happens to it, it doesn't pass, it'll be, I move that we put it on the next agenda.
So you want to
With
you want to put it on the
including-
next agenda, or you want
it's
to
a-
refer it to committee?
Next agenda.
It is in the committee, Mr. President.
I move that my new motion is to move to move D, wait, is that it? 5501?
This is B, 12B.
B banana, yes, B banana. Okay, for February, March, April, May, and June? Or will we have June?
It'll just be February, March, April, and May.
February, March, April, and May to the next agenda, next month. Thank you.
I believe it's called a table.
All right, so Director Blackwell has made a motion. Director, who seconded it?
Ross.
Director Ross? Okay, can we have the motion again, please, so we're not confused?
All right. We are moving the statutory obligations under Civil Code 5501 for February, March, April, and May to our next board meeting.
Okay, everybody's clear on the motion? I'm sorry, I only have one eye, I can't read these too good. So, you have a motion, we had a second, let's talk about it. Do we want to debate on this? Anybody want to have anything to say?
There is no debate, Mr. President. Just move from this one.
Okay, Director Ascari, thank you. All right, let's move on.
Oh,
Just know that nobody,
anybody opposed?
I don't see any on. Thank you. Let's move on to 12C. Let's have somebody else
Yes.
anybody else want to volunteer to read this thing? All right, Director Blackwell,
All
read it,
right.
please. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to the pink page of 12C, page 17 of 18. This is the anti-harassment, anti-abuse, and anti-intimidation policy and charter of the Joint Hearing Body Committee. This will require a clear and consistent policy to address claims of harassment, abuse, and intimidations by directors to staff, by fellow directors to fellow directors, and by residents to residents, or to staff or directors. Any combination of the above groups could go to this anti-abuse and anti-intimidation joint hearing body committee. This is intended to provide guidance relative to such behavior and issue a mechanism for addressing same by the anti-harassment, anti-abuse, and anti-intimidation joint hearing body committee. This will enhance the value and desirability of Laguna Woods Village in the interest of all of its members. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby introduces the anti-harassment, anti-abuse, and anti-intimidation policy and charter of the Joint Hearing Body Committee as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and that officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
I second.
So it's been moved. It's been moved by Director Blackwell, second by Director Casey, and we'll open discussion. I'd just like to say something on this. I've been involved in these things, and what's really important is that Laguna Woods and United in particular, if we go to court, can show the judge and the court that we do have a policy, and we can give them instances where we have enforced our policy. And when you go to court and you try to hip shoot something, you're going to lose. But if we go there and show them that we have a policy and we can show them instances where we have enforced it, it's going to really count for something. So let's go around the floor. Diane, Casey.
Yeah, I would say this is like having a mediation, especially if you're going to go to court. It's already been here and mediated, and there's been a conclusion. And so then if it does go to court, they have that decision. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Casey. This is important, so I'd like to hear from everybody. Director Ross? Okay, Director Cash Ackler, nothing. Director Lee?
No, I think it's really important that we have this policy because we hear more about this type of cases among the residents, among the, I don't know about the staffs, but it seems like it has been coming up more and more, so we should have this, and I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lee. Director English?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to it?
Just that anything to protect the organization, our United Laguna Woods, would be to our advantage, in my opinion.
Thank you, Director English. Director Bastani?
Hi. I believe this policy should have, should be both ways. This is only concerned with directors harassing VMS, whereas VMS also harasses directors. And the policy should include both ways. That's my comment.
Thank you, Director Bastani. Director Ascari?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. President. I agree. We definitely should have a policy, as mentioned by other directors, is like mediation, and it's very good. No doubt that we should have policy. We already have a policy, but this is a new version. However, there is something in this policy that I read it in the weekend, and I want to share with everyone. And although I am agree with the having policy, but I am not agree with what is in front of us to vote for. It needs a little bit consideration. Number one, if you go to the page, is in the director hands, you have 12C, page 4 out of 18. You can see federal law, definition of federal law for harassment. I am reading. A serious act or courses of conduct directed at a specific person that cause substantial emotional distress in such person and serves no legitimate purpose. This is the key. If somebody hurting someone with no means of question or point or legitimate purpose. However, this is federal law. If you read what they write down in this one, in page 5 out of 18, please go on the top. The last sentence on the top of the page, you can see, it started from the previous page, is a whole paragraph, how definition of harassment is by this policy, that it should cover all of them, but at the end, there is no such a thing that this must serve if it is no legitimate purpose. This must be added here. For example, if I have a point that, for example, I am saying, this is not happened, please listen is example. If 40,000 is missing, if I keep asking what is this $40,000, and if I don't receive a response, then I'm going to email and I'm going to keep asking, where is 40,000? Am I harassing? No, I am not harassing. I have a point. I want to know where is this 40,000. This sentence is not complete based on federal law and must be added at the end. That serves no legitimate purpose. Must be added there. Number two, that's my number one. Number two, in page 4 out of 18, at the end of the paragraph, last sentence, you can see it says, unreasonable, hostile, and excessive telephone call or email to a resident, staff, or vendor. Same question. What is the meaning of excessive? Is it 4 email is excessive? Is it 3 emails is excessive? there is no definition here. Am I harassing if 4 times or 5 times email where is $40,000? Am I excessive? So I don't know based on this who is responsible, or am I harassing or not harassing? So I am saying this stuff to prevent in future.
Okay,
This
Director Ascari, your time is up. Thank
Okay,
you.
can I another time I raise my hand because I
Yeah,
have
we'll
two more
go around
issues.
the second time. We'll go around the second time.
Okay, thank you.
Director Torn?
Thank you for the opportunity. I can give you, as far as Director Ascari's example, I can give you an example that I have experienced myself. Okay, particularly this question is about performance evaluation. When it seems like when the performance evaluation is embarrassing to VMS staff, they claim that it's harassment. When I talk about, give you the example, is that I was asking the staff what is their current response, okay, completion rate, and they were just giving me they refused to give me, and when I keep on pressing them for the information, I was accused for harassment. Okay, this is not, it is a legitimate purpose to ask for the information. Okay, that's what our board members is, responsibility. That's our fiduciary responsibility. But when we exercise our fiduciary responsibility, we are slapped with harassment, and there's no reason to explain it. There's no explanation. There's no specific statement. Just say you read the meeting, you review the meeting video, and that's it. All right, and then give me the harassment policy. There is no specific evidence. That's the biggest problem. Okay, the same thing with page 5 of 18. Okay, the last sentence, the last paragraph there. In the middle of it states that Security Department will investigate the complaint and will report its findings to the committee. It didn't mention whether the investigation report will be shared with the accused or accuser. Okay, so this investigation report seems to be a secret document. It's not open to the accused or accuser. So there is no way for the accused to say, that's not the case. No, that's not what I was intended to do. And I have this legitimate reason for that. Okay, so there are quite a few loopholes. I don't know how a professional legal counsel can miss that part to the committee. Okay, only to the committee. Why can't we share that with the accused? Okay, okay, my internet connection is a little bit unstable at this point. Okay, so my question is, my experience has this been, I've been accused of harassment, but there's no evidence, there's no investigation report shared with me, and only shared with the committee after I exited the meeting. Okay, so that's totally unfair. I don't know where's the members' right in this case that we couldn't share with residents. Okay, with all the people involved, with all parties involved, and besides, if there's a conflict information, what are we going to do for cross-exam? How to resolve this issue? Usually it's through cross-exam. But legal counsel said, well, that's be your words against their words. Okay, so that is ridiculous of your words against their words.
Director Torn, your time is up. We're going to go around the second time. Your time is up. Your time is up. Anybody else here on the board want to speak? Director Casey, do you want to speak? Director Blackwell, I'm sorry.
All right. Under California law, for purposes of this policy, abuse also includes conduct that creates a hostile work environment as defined under California law. Okay. We also have over on the other side, page 2 of 5, the first dot, harassment is defined to mean a serious act or course of conduct directed at a specific person that causes substantial emotional distress in such person and serves no legitimate purpose. And then harassment is unlawful violence, a credible threat of violence, or a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, or harasses that person and that serves no legitimate purpose. A request for information as a request for information serves a legitimate purpose. It becomes harassing when it alarms, annoys, or harasses that person. Shouting, stalking, following someone around to intimidate, to make a point, entering the second floor of the community center without escort or pass, interfering, instructing, or otherwise disrupting the work of vendors or staff, unreasonable, hostile, and excessive phone calls and or emails to a resident, staff, or vendor, disparaging someone, humiliating someone, or other behavior which the ordinary person would find unreasonable and or threatening. All of these are part of this attachment. So all of these would be harassment under federal law, in California law, and in our own governing documents. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. And Director Ascari. Director Ascari, did you have some? Yeah, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Yes, as Director Blackwell read the whole paragraph, I didn't read the whole, but that's my point. You can see the first sentence of the paragraph that Director Blackwell read says this policy interprets and defines harassment in the committee such as, and says all of them except one word, except serves no legitimate purpose. And that's my point. In the law, in the federal law and in the California law, both have this word. But in our law, in this policy, this word is not here. That's what my point. That's what I already answered. I wanted to answer Director Blackwell. However, I'm going to continue. That's what I already mentioned, two things. I am going to number 3. Committee members. As you can see in the page 1218, committee members is 2 directors from the board of the director, GRF United Third. 3 times 2 is 6, and it gave us a even number. I know it's mentioned when it's tied, we are going by the rules of the Robert Rules. However, why not 3 members from each committee is 9? So we don't need it to all the time have a tie, especially if it is a director. Please understand that committee cannot send. That means if, for example, if it is in the third, only United and GRF, which means 4 directors can be. And it's very obvious if 2 by 2 is tied, it's fail. I suggested 3 members from each committee being that. Always we have odd number, and that's why normally we have 11 people here for 3 in committee as an odd to have higher. That was my other thing. And also, if you go to page 5 out of 18, the last paragraph that starts with a complaint involving is exactly the same paragraph on the above, word by word. That must be deleted. It's redundant. You can read it by yourself. And also in page 6 out of 18, I'm saying as fast as possible these things that I read it the whole weekend 4 or 5 times. There is a 6 out of 18. Paragraph second from the bottom. You can see the monetary fine. The committee has the authority to impose monetary fines and suspect members' privilege, and especially regarding to the board. I understand that if some resident doing something against the bylaw should be monetary, which I have a problem with. That kind of range of monetary is huge, from 25 to 500 must be a kind of direction, because the difference is $475, and that is a little bit tough to know, am I getting $500 or am I getting $25? I don't know. However, regarding to director, if I am spending so much time, if I am a director and by something or call it feeling harassment, should
Director
I be
Escar, your time is up.
Thank you. Thank you. I yelled back, but I have more to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Escari. Director Torn?
Yes, thank you very much. I'll be quick. Another question is, will VMS be allowed to bring up additional related information after any party leaves the meeting? During my harassment VMS accusation to me during the meeting, they didn't share with me any information, any evidence, but after the meeting, all right, after I left the meeting, VMS started showing all kinds of the documents and videos accusing me of harassment. I have absolutely no clue what's accused of me. And I also, in some members' meeting, other mutual members' meeting, I heard compliance brought up additional issues after the members left the meeting, and to justify that it's worthwhile. This is totally retaliation if it's additional information not shared with members. I want to bring it up, and this is very serious violation of human rights, members' rights. Okay, this should also be explained in the document in this harassment. What kind of rights they have, instead of just saying there's a potential problem, there's a potential problems, and we have to have this document. There's a lot of potential abuses. Okay, and also I have situations I'm complain about the VMS harassment on me. And like some of the hosts harassed me, constantly and mute me, so I couldn't say anything. Okay, I made a complaint, and with the harassment was dismissed. I can't even. They don't even want to go through the investigation. So there's a potential abuse that yes, if they do it right, I agree with that, but they don't do it right. These the complaints were not even brought up. You are the bad boy, and we will not let you go off the hook. This is totally retaliation. Okay. Another question is, what about a D&O insurance covering the directors? It didn't mention anything about it. Okay. When I talked about it, it just said you are not covered underneath it. Okay. I have no problem doing volunteer work. But every time I'm asking for performance criteria, asking for explain for the performance, and asking for information about request for performance information, I'm totally denied. Instead, I got slapped on the harassment hearing, and I got banned from the building. So it's totally unjust. In this process, there's no information in there that tell us what should be done. All the loopholes in there just to allow VMS to retaliate against the board members asking questions, asking for performance evaluation, and to prove them there's some problem there. They need to make improvement. They don't want to make improvement, so they just slap you with the harassment to shut you up.
Director Torn, your time is up. Thank you very much. And you've already spoken twice. Director Ross, you have the floor.
Thank you. On page 6 of 18, on the next to bottom paragraph, where it talks about monetary fines being assigned to people who are, or board members, who are accused of harassment. My only question is that we have volunteer board members, and voluntary fines can range from $25 to $500 or more. We don't know. I think we have directors' insurance. My question is a point whether insurance would pay for any monetary fines. I don't know the answer to that. That may be a question for our insurance company. But that was one point. And the other point is that Rader brought up about the anti-harassment policy, as it's written, protects our employees against discrimination by board of directors. But in reverse, if the board of director is discriminated or a resident is discriminated by an employee, I understand there's a VMS anti-harassment policy. And I, for one, would like to get a copy of that and review that, just to see how it differs from our policy before we go ahead and approve our policy. Because I just want to be sure the two policies make a lot of sense, and would like to request a copy of that policy.
Thank you, Director Ross. Director Blackwell.
Thank you. If you look on page 7 of 18, it says, decisions by the committee to impose disciplinary action against an offending member shall be subject to a right of appeal to his or her respective corporation's board. Okay, so it is the other corporations that make the decision. If the person is very upset, they go to their own corporation, and if their own corporation feels that they should have an appeal, then their own corporation will ask for the appeal for them. So that is why your corporation is held out in the first ruling, so that it can be the one who asks for the appeal for you if you need an appeal. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. And now, no more board members, so let's hear from the floor. You've already talked twice. You talked twice, and now I'm going to listen to the other people.
So first up, we have Juanita Skillman, Manor 2154N.
I would like to speak in favor of this and urge you all. It's been years coming. We've talked about this for almost as long as I've been on boards. One of the problems we have, we live in a village, we live in a community, and yet we have 4 separate harassment policies, and they're not really the same. They're close, but not the same. We all need to be judged by the same, and that's what this would do. Also, our harassment policy in United really doesn't cover abuse and intimidation. It only does harassment. And we need to be held in some way. I mean, all of us live in the village, whether we are in Third or United or just GRF, everybody's GRF. It all needs to come together, and this board, similar to our traffic hearings board, would do that and make sure that all of the village is able to participate. Also, I'd like to point out on page 3 of 18, on page from item C, H, governing documents. I don't think we have any governing documents that are cars. They replaced CC and R with cars.
That was an
That was
autocorrect.
probably
It was an autocorrect.
Thank you, Juanita. Who's next, Michaela?
Next up is Mary Stone, Manor 2154N.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, 356C. Thank you.
Mary, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Well, I've been around. You can come to the library any Saturday morning and see me. Library hours are from 10 to 1. I come early, stay late when necessary. Yes, I'm in favor of this resolution and these policies and regarding the anti-harassment, anti-abuse, and anti-intimidation. We do have a hierarchy of governing documents that don't start with us. They start with the federal level. So if something is included in the federal level, that doesn't necessarily need to be in our governing documents on our level. So we go the federal, the state, the city, and then we are kind of down at the bottom of the list. It's good for us to acknowledge the major points of the other governing documents at the upper levels, but we don't have to worry. If something's included in those and we don't have it in ours, that's okay, because we have to comply with the hierarchy of governing documents. And I believe that when it was brought out to what does excessive mean, what is unreasonable, those are words that need to be interpreted by the people who will be on this committee. And they will have to deal with those kinds of words. And I'm sure there's going to be federal and state cases in which they can find out what is excessive, unreasonable, what is harassment, what isn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Stone. Michaela?
Okay, so we have a few emails from residents.
Okay.
Cash.
Oh, Director Ackrocar.
If I look at the table for monetary penalties, page 9 out of 18, there's no place anywhere it says about anti-harassment fines. Is there any fine for such activity? And it should be mentioned here.
Okay, thank you, Director Ackrocar. Do we have anybody else, Michaela?
Yes, we do have a few emails that were sent in to us regarding this topic.
Okay.
So the first one is from Robert McNeese, Manor 8830. They said, about 6 years ago, this aggressive person who lives in our cul-de-sac noticed my mentally handicapped young daughter who was visiting in front of the driveway outside. My daughter was innocently taking pictures of the flowers in front of our buildings. This aggressive person came out of her condo, rushed over to my daughter and yelled questions at her without waiting for my answers. Who are you? What are you doing here? You can't take pictures here, and other intimidating statements and questions. She was yelling at my daughter and wouldn't let my daughter respond. My daughter came back into the house after the aggressive person turned around and left my daughter standing there. My daughter was crying and very upset at this person's aggressive and uncalled for behavior. This was previously reported to the board/committee and is in the board/committee minutes. During the summer of COVID-19, I was in the front of our condo on the grass filling some flower pots for my balcony. The same aggressive person approached me and belligerently as well as offensively said, "Do you have approval to do that?" I said I was putting them on my patio. She combatively said a few other nasty things to me, called me some names and left. She then phoned security and said I was illegally putting planted flowers in the garden bed. When security got there, the potted plants were safely ensconced on my back patio. I have told the board and then the committee in 2 previous opinions that it is my professional opinion that if she is not removed, the situation with the neighbors and her will degenerate to a point where someone will be seriously injured. In my years on the bench and half a century as an attorney, I have seen too many instances of a person with her indifference to how she acts to her neighbors, her hostile behavior to everyone with no cause, and her aggressiveness, and with a tragic result. So then the next one is Evelyn David, Manor 8830. This person, let me start the 3 minutes. This person said, this aggressive person has been complained about by me to the board before. I testified before the board or committee about those incidents which are in the record with the board committee/board minutes. She was disciplined by the board for this as well as other behavior she had inflicted upon my other neighbors here in our cul-de-sac during these same time frames. Again, all is in the record before the board/committee. Some years ago, my son and grandson were visiting me for Christmas. My son in his late 50s went to the laundry room to wash some clothes for himself, my grandson, and for me. This aggressive person went into the laundry room, got in my son's face, and yelled at him, "What are you doing here? This laundry room is only for residents," and other hateful comments even before he had explained why he was there. She continued to harass him even after I was able to explain over her shouting why he was there. When I saw her next morning in the laundry room, she came laughing at me, saying, "I really scared your son yesterday." When she had dogs before they died, she would pretend she was walking them and come down 2 or 3 times a week right in front of our house and stand there with her dogs looking at our building while taking mental note of everything we were doing in our 4 different condos in our building. She would just stand there for half an hour or so, just staring at us or the building. She has befriended 2 different older women as they were dying, so as to get them to leave her all of their property. She recently was taken to court by the surviving children of the second woman. The judge found that this aggressive person, as you want us to call her, had wrongfully inserted herself into the estate of this woman while she was incapacitated, had wrongfully got her to change her will to where this aggressive person got all of her estate, and had done so while the older woman was not capable of making any decisions. The judge ordered her to return it all to the legitimate heirs of the woman's estate. Respectfully, Evelyn David.
Thank you.
And we have 2 more speakers.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is from Shirley Weinberg of 884A. On January, I sent a letter to complaints explaining what happened to me. A resident had been harassing me outside of my manor. She had been taunting me on several occasions. I did answer her. I went into my manor, but then came back out to bring my compost across the cul-de-sac. At this time, I saw the resident put the dogs into her car, which is directly ahead of my manor. She started her car and quickly backed out toward me. When I saw this, I was frightened and quickly ran to the carports in front of me to get away from her. When she swerved the front of her car toward me and drove her car behind me while laying on her horn at the same time. Needless to say, I was in shock. I called the sheriff's department and thought I was speaking calmly when their operator said that I did not sound good and asked me to give her permission to call 911, which I did. Now in May, she took some of my clothes from the washroom on a pretext of helping me out. Came downstairs towards my manor when she saw me helping another neighbor with her trash. I am a woman in advanced years, with a heart condition plus asthma and COPD. I feel that this resident is a menace, and I am truly afraid of her. I feel we are in need of a harassing policy to deal with people like her. We need relief from this, otherwise things will get worse, and we will have more aggressive action from her. The next one is from Michael and Sumatra von Trump of 884C. Dear mutual board members, my wife and I are 14-year residents here in Laguna Woods. 11 of those years have been spent living next to this so-called aggressive person. The first 3 years she was married and lived in Washington State. But shockingly, her marriage ended in a divorce and she moved here permanently in 2011. And that was the end of the calm and tranquility we've grown accustomed to. We love living here in Laguna Woods and believe it to be as close to nirvana as possible in the world, and our neighbors are wonderful people, save one, the aggressive person. For me, all the harassments and egregious things that this aggressive person has done to us would literally fill a book. I can give you some of the highlights. She called 911 and told them that I had physically assaulted her, and the sheriffs came out. 2 squad cars with guns drawn to my front door, only for me to say, "What are you talking about?" She later, under strict questioning, retracted her statement and said that never happened. I told the officers that I wanted to file charges for a false 911 call, and they blew me off with what we all hear a lot, it is just a neighbor-to-neighbor dispute. But it made the police blotter of the globe. That has to and must change. Serious occurrences like this are happening weekly recently. The aggressive neighbor has driven her car at 2 residents' neighbors, blowing her horn, using her vehicle as a method of threatening people on both occasions. The sheriff and security have used that pathetic neighbor-to-neighbor dispute line. The AG is starting to escalate in her bad behavior, and someone is going to get badly injured, and then we are going to have more liability problems. A good lawyer can show that we did nothing here to prevent this, and we all, and the HOA can and will be sued as the AG is broke, and who knows if she even has car insurance. I do not want to see our mutual on a financial hook or a lawsuit because of this AG's reckless behavior. Both of these Vehicular threats have been formally reported to security in the sheriff's department. My wife and I carry personal video recorders anytime we leave our home to come and go, doing laundry, etc., which prevents the AG from verbally assaulting us as she did when we did not have them 4 years ago. Now we carry them. Is this a way for us to live, I ask you? AG's last and second mutual board disciplinary hearing was 5 years ago, and all of us were asked by the board members after hearing all the nightmare comments. What took you so long to come to us?
Thank you, Paul.
Your speaker time is up.
Michaela?
That is it for the resident speakers.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Siobhan, what do we want to do with this thing here? We just want to move it on?
We would like to have the board introduce it
I have
today.
some comment. I have.
You're out of order. You're out of order.
Are you allowed?
You're out
Cash
of
to
order.
speak the third
You're
time?
out of order. You're out of order. I'm asking a question of Siobhan. I'll
How do
get
I
to
get
you.
into order? How do I
Siobhan,
get into
what are we
order?
going to do with this?
We would like the board to introduce the resolution today for 28-day review and act on it at the next meeting.
Okay, do we understand that? Yeah. Okay, who wants
I
to
have
make
a
the
question.
motion?
I move
I-
to accept this for the 28 days and review it at the next meeting.
Okay, so Director Casey has moved this to be accepted and pushed on and to abide by the civil code here for 4360. Do we have a second?
Yes.
It's been seconded by Director Blackwell. Now we can talk about it. Who wants to lead off the discussion?
Pat Sansa.
Oh, Pat?
Yeah, I would just like to ask all of us, is this really what we're here for? Do we have to listen to arguments between neighbors and things? Is that what we're supposed to be doing? Because heaven help us if we are. We can't carry on with stuff like this. I mean, this is ridiculous. It seems to me that people in situations like that should either be calling the police or filing a lawsuit of some kind. Anyway, that's all I have to say about it. It just sounds ridiculous to me.
Thank you, Director Casey. Director Casey?
Yeah, I would say, I think this was just examples.
Director Casey, please make sure your microphone's on. Thank you.
I think these were just examples of, what they're being presented with. Like even yesterday, I was in my laundry room, and a young man was doing his father's laundry, and because he used all the dryers, when he left to come back, the person who came in and saw they were all filled, he dumped everything on the floor. So he had to start all over. I mean, it's just terrible the way people treat each other. And so we need to have this kind of harassment policy because, we can't take it all to our closed session or our resident advisory. We really need to have a good system set up. Security came yesterday to that laundry room. They took the report, and so they're going to probably follow up on it, and it would go to some kind of mediation.
May I just respond with one quick?
Well, wait, let me go around here so we can get some order. And remember now, we're deciding whether to send this on or not to do the 28 days. So Director Ross, you got it.
Thank you. So this is to protect residents to staff and directors to VMS staff. And I think that for every case that we have with a director that's abusing staff, we probably have about 100 cases of residents being hostile with other residents. And so I think what we really need to do is we really need a policy, an anti-harassment policy to protect the residents from hostile other residents. And we don't currently have such a policy, to my knowledge. It's my only comment.
Director Ross, you've already spoken. Anybody else here?
Well, yeah, I want to go around again.
Yeah,
I just
okay.
wanted to respond to Diane.
All right, well, let me go to the monitor here. Director Ascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I agree. All of the reading shows that we need this committee. I am in favor of having a policy. However, what is in front of me? that I read it 2-3 times is lots of needs correction. So I am against this written policy, but I am favor in the policy to have it. But this must be corrected. So that's all I am saying, that my vote would be no for this. However, if we correct it and come back next month with the correction, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Asghari. Director Torn.
Thank you, Chair. One thing I have a big problem is in the past, I live in many HOAs. None of the HOAs that we have to conform, we have to work with other HOAs, set up rules and the regulations. Every HOA has its own rules and regulations. Okay, there's no need to say just because the other HOAs exist in this community, we have to work with them. There is no such requirements. Okay, so that's one thing. We don't need to have, for some reason right now, to make the things, simplify things, we want all the HOA to have the same rules. Okay, go back to your life. Anytime you, in other HOAs, it's required that the stated that you have to have the same rule with your neighboring HOAs. Ask all those HOAs on the neighborhood, okay, next door neighbor. Any one of them that require that they have rules and regulations that match the other one and combine together. There's no such requirements. Okay, I'm not against the rules, but I'm against the loopholes. Okay, if we can resolve the loopholes, we will have a good follow the pretty much the same eliminate the same loopholes. We will have a good harassment policy. But at this point, the harassment policy and anti-abuse being abused. Okay, in my case, I've seen a lot of cases like this against members, against board members. Okay, the legal counsel just say, well, we have it didn't say in here, so we can do it. That's what they say. It didn't say in the rule, so we can do it. Okay, so that's the problem with the rule. And I'm totally disappointed with the legal counsel. Rather than say, we need to look into it and find out how to resolve this issue, their response is, we don't have this rule, so we can do it. Okay, as far as we're asking about, we want to see the previous policies. I did ask the questions. Where is the policy? You say you're following the policy. Where is the policy? The response from the legal counsel, VMS legal counsel, is this is a VMS policy. You have no right to request it. Okay, this is ridiculous. I can't believe that legal counsel is just trying to use this one to harass board directors. Okay, this is totally wrong. Okay, I am totally against that because the execution of the rule, it's so many loopholes that allow the legal counsel to say, yes, you can do it this way, no problem, because there's no such rule. Okay, I don't think this will be fair to the residents. And also, one director mentioned that we will be all in this one, all kinds of harassment policies among residents. I do believe there are big problems with this one. And who will make the most money? The lawyers. They will be getting involved, they will charge us. It's totally unnecessary. We need to change our compliance department to a social worker department, resolve the issue rather than fine them. Okay, this is a very serious issue. We need to, with social workers, we need more social workers rather than securities. All right, security just takes security, and the social worker takes care of the social worker issue rather than the.
Director Torn, your time is up.
All right,
Director
thank
English.
Okay, after you were talking, Diane, it came to me, heavens above, we have the very best HOA, if not the best, attorney anyone has in California, period. Why in the heck aren't we giving this crap to the attorney to take care of? We shouldn't be trying to figure out whether someone's harassing someone else and so forth and so forth. That should be what Jeff does for us. And I don't care if we have to pay him $35,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 a year. He's worth it, and that's what we should be doing. We shouldn't be here arguing with each other on this. It's crazy. Thank you.
Thank you, Director English. Director Lee.
I'm in favor of having an anti-harassment policy with the GRF, the Third Mutual, and the United Mutual should have a same policy.
Thank you, Director Lee. Director Blackwell?
Yes, this policy contains all the relevant law you need to know. It quotes the federal law on 3 different places and the California law on 3 different places. We promise to keep our place safe and reasonable and so on. I forget what the phrase is. We have to keep our neighbors safe from each other as much as we can. And this is what this policy is doing. Harassment of this kind that those people were relating is vehicular threat and or harassment to just for no purpose. What is the harassment that this person is doing? Yelling at people in the laundry room and throwing their stuff out on the ground. What is the purpose of that? That serves no purpose. So there are facilities, we have to guarantee some level of comfort and safety in our facilities. And so we need this, and it looks like a lot, but it's very repetitive. And if you aren't already following California and federal law, you better be. And so we just incorporate ours all together, and we have the one board that will handle all of these issues, where right now it's left to compliance to try and get it together and get it together and get it together. In this way, they can call for a hearing and bring forth their evidence. The person is notified of the issues and the stories, okay? They are notified of that, but they are not allowed, it is not a cross-examination, it's not a trial. So it's a hearing. And so the accusers have that's been advised for whatever. And so the accused knows that when he gets there. And the people who are being harassed get to speak, and then the harasser or accused person gets to speak. And so it's done without cross-examination or, otherwise you'd need a photo and a tape recording every time somebody hit you over the head or ran over your foot. How are you going to do that? So this is a very good way to handle it. And as the emails showed, and I've gotten many emails the last 2 weeks on this policy, and the residents want this policy. They want this board where they can go. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. Any more discussion from the directors? Director Akrakar.
On page 13, this red line in the middle, when the defendant is a board director, blah, 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 that doesn't make sense. Why should the committee members be removed? They're there for their own opinion for the board. This is eliminating members for no reason.
What page are you on, Cash?
I don't understand the logic in that.
Page?
13. President Liberatore, would you like me to respond to?
Yes, go ahead, Siobhan.
Director Akrakar, this has to do with an appeal. The appeal would be made to the full board. So this is to protect the rights of the individual involved. So he or she has an impartial board to appeal to.
Director Akrakar, you okay with that?
The members on that committee from United should be allowed to hear what is going on. Why are they removed?
So that the individual can have a full impartial hearing with the board that they are a representative of. So if you are, for instance, coming before the committee, you would want to have the ability to appeal the decision of the committee to your respective board. And that keeps that impartiality available to you.
Right.
Thank you, Director Cash Aquacard. Director Casey?
I was going to say, in response to the comment, we have a great compliance department, and, I think this is just going to help them more, and we do escalate things to closed meetings when it needs to be. It's for our attorney to look at, but the attorney can't look at all these, hundreds of complaints. That would cost us an arm and a leg.
And if I may add, Attorney Beaumont helped draft this procedure.
Great. All right, well.
Thank you, Director Casey. Director Bastani?
Thank you, Mr. Liberator. I think we should confine ourselves to what's in front of us. We are going and talking about harassment between residents, etc., which is good, but it's under another issue. The issue right now in front of us is this policy that we see, and it's incomplete because there are two entities here. One is VMS and one is the board. This policy covers harassment of VMS employees. It does not cover the opposite. So this policy has to be rewritten to cover both sides. And I sincerely believe if we don't do that, this policy is not going to be any good. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bastani. Shaban?
Thank you. If I may address that, VMS has an anti-harassment policy that is applicable to employees. I can bring to our closed session the flow chart of that procedure so everyone can see what that is. And that would hopefully answer any questions that you have. But VMS employees are held to this policy, and should they be accused of harassment, we go through this comprehensive policy. The only difference here is that we're dealing with employees versus everyone else.
Thank you, Shaban. Director Ross?
May I answer this?
Do you want Reza? Okay. I wanted to make a comment about what Director Akrakar just brought up. On page 13 of 18, when a director from United is accused of harassment, the way this is worded, it says that two members of United that were on this committee will not decide on his case or her case. It will only be decided by two members from GRF and two members from Third. If that's true, I agree with Cash, and I think that's unfair. I think that in the case of an appeal, of course, it would be brought before the entire United Board. But in the initial case of the harassment, the two members from United are taken off the committee, and they will no longer hear the case. I think that's what he's saying. And that's not right. That's not right. It should be two members from United, two members from GRF, and two members from Third, all six deciding on the case, whichever board the person is from. It doesn't matter. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ross. Who is next? Director Bastani, did I cut you off? Are you done?
No, I have something to add, if I may.
Go ahead.
I believe that talking about the policy which will include GRF and Third is impossible to achieve. There are 33 directors in this lot. So we have to confine ourselves to a policy for United, a separate policy. If they agree with it, we can have a common policy. If they don't, we cannot force them to agree to our harassment policy. So we should confine ourselves to a separate united harassment policy. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bastani. Director Ascari?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I understand that this is after traffic hearing policy that all three GRF United and Third have. However, please understand traffic complaint is universal around the world. It's not changing. Red light is red light. Stopping at a stop sign is a stop line. So it's not something we're conflating with each other. But the need of residents for the Third is different from needs of residents for the United. And GRF is totally different because it doesn't have even any members or residents under GRF. I am not sure why we have to follow this one. I agree that if it is possible, if Mr. Bowman did this one, make a good one for United, and United can really decide it for that one. That's number one. That I don't think so. It is necessary. And number two, Shiban said that VMS policy she might show us in the a closed meeting. That means first we have to vote right now, and then later in closed meeting we see what is that. That is not fair. That's what I am saying. Please postpone this one or voted no to this one until we see the VMS policy on the closed meeting, or even if it is not secret, we all see it. And then if it is fair, we can vote for that. If we vote yes right now, we are bounded to that without seeing even half of the part, which is VMS policy. So, and this is a good point. Please vote no to this one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Ascari. Director Torn.
Thank you, Chair. First, I want to talk about this one. When we talk about the performance criticism, we're talking about that you're not doing a good job, and because I'll give you the examples here, and I want more information on that, and the staff continuously refuse to provide further information, and that created a conflict there. Okay, when the board, it has to be understood that it's board responsibility to get answers. And if VMS staff refuse to give the answer, and the VMS felt that they were humiliated, that's because their performance is bad. Okay, rather than VMS go back to their staff and say you need to provide the information. VMS support the staff's accusation of harassment. That's totally wrong. Okay, that's and this is a reasonable for information. Okay, apparently in the past, VMS doesn't follow the reasonable of the information request for reasonable information. Okay, whereas instead of admit they are wrong, they retaliate with harassment accusation. That is totally wrong. Next thing is, what do we really need 3 boards or 4 boards or 5 boards sitting together? Okay, determine that. GMS doesn't know United rules, okay, operating rules and all the resolutions. And Third doesn't really understand it. Okay, so
orders of the day. We want to get back to what we were talking about.
You're out of order.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, there is no reason to believe they are familiar with United. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Third rules and CCNRs. I'm not sure how many of you understand GIF's rules and resolutions. Okay, you cannot get 3 groups together. 2/3 of the people are not familiar with the rules and regulations, and then say we want to determine whether he's guilty or not. It's totally ridiculous. Make a decision, make suggestion like that. We need to have united rules, united harassment rules. We don't need to have a combined harassment rule. We don't need to have a combined hearing. By the way, hearing is only for hearing, no decisions made. The only decision is should this person go to the board or not. Okay, but in our hearing, it's totally different. I'm amazed that some of the legal expert in this.
Okay, Director Torn, your time is up.
Okay, this is
All
not
right,
a
now,
hearing.
your time is up. Now, are we ready for the question? To move this on or not? I make a motion with.
We have a motion.
Yeah, but I can make you don't understand. I can make a motion to end debate, so be quiet.
You don't have to.
What?
We've all spoken twice. It's
No,
over.
you don't know.
That's what it says.
You have no authority to make, this is Jim Slaughter, not this guy. Jim Slaughter, who is he's an attorney and.
And so is this one.
No, he's not. He's not an attorney. I know the guy. Anyway, do we want to vote on this to move it on or not?
For the 28 days?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's vote, 28 days,
All right.
what's the big deal?
Okay, who's going to move it?
I already did.
All right, who's second? Oh, yeah, we
I
had
think-
the debate, so let's
yes.
have the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand. All right. All right, let's go around on the board here. Director Ascari, how do you vote on this motion?
No.
She said no.
Okay, Director Bastani, how do you vote?
No.
Director Torn, how do you vote?
No.
Okay, anybody else?
6-3.
All right, Michaela, you got the count there?
Do we have?
Yeah, motion
everybody else
passed
vote?
6-3.
All right, the motion passes and it moves on. Thank you very much. And and I'll tell you something, when we go to court, and we will, we better have something in place and we better have a record that shows that we're enforcing it. Anyway, let's go on to item number D. Director Blackwell, you do us the honors, please,
Okay.
since we don't have a secretary present.
Right. Looking. All right. We have in these pages 16 through 18, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 through 18 of the membership election and voting policy. And every director was given a copy also of the election rules, which are handed out when candidates sign up. So those are also included in here. Whereas the board recognized the need to amend the membership election voting policy to align it with California's civil code. And specifically, we are looking at the changes on page 5 of 18. A director who resigns or is removed, or a director who will have served 2 successive full terms may not again be a director until the expiration of 12 months after ceasing to be a director. The part that is our wanted is already in the election information, which is handed out to all candidates when they sign up. So that is included thereby in this policy. So we approve the revised membership election and voting policy as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and that Resolution 01-2026, adopted June 9th, is hereby superseded in its entirety and canceled. That's June 9th, 2020. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry about the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. Seconded by Director Ross. Is there any discussion? Nobody here at the hand up? Director Torn.
Thanks for sharing information. There is one place that I'm I have a little bit question about it. Campaign guideline for United Mutual Board candidate doesn't have a page number, but I counted one. You counted the starting gray one as page 1, 2, 3, 4. Campaign guideline for United Mutual Board candidates. The bottom paragraph, other campaign activities. Okay. I'm glad it's mentioned that candidate may request a membership list by downloading and completing a record request form. Okay, which I really glad at. Okay, that's what we're arguing about. But there is something that's still missing here, right? Last year we had a problem that this wasn't stated in there, and nobody else knows that except a few returning board members, candidates. Okay. So my question at this point: is there any other activities that could be allowed? Okay, or they are not? There's nothing else that they are allowed. If there's nothing else allowed, please state so. There is no other activity allowed. Okay, this one leaves a loophole in there that says, I know it, but nobody else is know it, so I will make an activity, and the argument is that you don't know it, that's your problem. Okay, or we can add another statement that says, if any candidate is allowed for additional activity, additional information, all candidates should be informed and allowed to make the same request before and give sufficient time to process it. Okay, this is the biggest problem we have at this point. So I want to make amendment that change this other campaign activities as no more. If any other candidate receive additional information, all candidates should receive the same additional information. Thank you very much. That's my amendment.
Thank you, Director Torn. Director Blackwell.
Oh, he moved an amendment.
Hmm?
He moved an amendment.
Yeah, but need a second.
I second it.
And Director Ascari seconds it. Now, what is your amendment again?
His-
Can you say it clearly for us all to understand, please?
My amendment is this. If any candidate receive additional information or perform additional activities as a candidate, the same information or activities should be granted to all candidates.
Michaela, did you get that? Or Paul?
Paul is taking the minutes.
Okay, Paul, did you get that?
It is that if one candidate chooses to do some activity or get some information from the board, that activity must be notified to all other candidates so that they have the equal opportunity.
Director Torn, is that your amendment?
Not just from the HOA, but from the VMS.
So now we're really confused. We need to state the amendment clearly.
Okay,
Mr. President, can I repeat that one? He
No,
said
Andre has,
any
Director Torn has the floor, and it's his motion. What is it, Director Torn? And say it so we're trying to copy it down because we can't put it archive it if it's not going to be right.
Can VMS Secretary repeat it? Let me see if there's anything missing there.
So Paul, do you have it? He wants to repeat it to CV.
Where did you put it? 12/5.
We have an additional candidate that asked for additional information.
But what is the motion?
The motion
Because
is.
it has to go into the archives.
Amendment, not motion.
Okay.
Well, it is an amendment, which is a motion now. Yes, go ahead, Paul.
You made a motion to amend.
Yes.
Made a motion to amend that any additional candidates requesting further information that is granted, the information that the other candidates be notified of that additional information from the HOA and VMS.
Yeah. Is that your motion, Director Torn?
Close. Let me repeat it. I'll repeat it slowly.
Slowly.
Okay? If any
You know, the chair has a
candidate-
right to have people submit their motions in writing. Did you know that? That's in Robert's rules.
So read it.
So read the
If
motion.
any candidate, let me know if I'm too fast for you. If any candidate receive additional information from VMS or HOA.
We don't have an HOA.
Out of order.
Okay? Are you there?
Continue.
I'm asking VMS, are you there?
Yes, we can hear you, Director Torn.
Okay, you're there. So if any candidate receive any information, additional information from EMS or HOA, all candidates will receive the notification and receive the same information as well. Could you repeat that now?
The motion or the amendment is that any candidates that receive additional information from VMS or HOA, that all candidates will receive the same information as well.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Director Torrance. So
As amendment to that other campaign activity in page 4.
we're on item D, are we not? You amending D?
Yes,
Is that what he's
12D.
doing? He's amending D?
Yes.
Do all the directors understand the motion on the floor? And it has been seconded. Do we need to discuss it?
Yes.
Okay, who's first? Director Blackwell.
All right. That's against the rules in Davis Sterling. In Davis Sterling, a person fills out a request for information from VMS. That is information which is personally requested by them for an approved purpose. That's what Davis Sterling says. That's what our form says. It does not allow for everyone else to be given that information because one person asked for it. You have to sign for it to show that you meant this and you will follow our rules about disseminating or not disseminating and all the rules that are listed on the page which you sign. If we just get one person to do it and then he passes the stuff out, it is all unprotected there and it can be misused. He can sell the list to his plumber for $1,000. He can sell the list to his nephew who's in real estate. He can do whatever he wants with the list. And that is the reason why Davis Sterling has this is a personal request and a personal issuance. Everybody is told that they may request documents. That's in our document. It says you may request it and you have to fill out the form. Well, that is what Davis Sterling says. We do not want to take that protection away. So if Cash wants to get that information, that's fine. If Lenny wants to get the information, that's fine, but they must each sign the form of promise and the request. We don't just mean that once it's passed into anybody, he can duplicate the form and the information and hand it out to everybody he wants, wherever in the world he wants to do it. That's the difference with a membership list especially. We do not want people to have easy access to the membership list and give it to other relatives and to businesses and to have our homes and mailboxes inundated by all the mailings and phone calls that would arise, emails from having the list that's given away publicly to everyone in South Orange County.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. Now, if this is true that we're in violation of Davis Sterling, the motion is dilatory and out of order. But what I will do is ask, I don't have the Davis Sterling Act in front of us. We can research it, but if it is against violating Davis Sterling, the motion is dilatory and out of order. Thank you. All right, so that amendment fails. And do we need any more discussion?
Excuse me, we have some requests. My hand is up.
Well, with your hand up, I just told you, if this is against Davis Sterling, it's moot. Don't you understand that? If it's against Davis Sterling, we can't break the law.
It is not against. Can I explain?
No, it's not.
It is not.
You don't know, listen, let me tell you something. You don't know Davis Sterling, and I'm asking the staff to help research it because I don't have Davis Sterling in front of me. So if it's against Davis Sterling, I'm not going to allow it to come on the floor. It's dilatory.
Mr. President, if it is against the David Sterling, VMS will not give any information that
Director
is against
Ascari, we cannot
David
approve a
Sterling
motion. We
candidate.
cannot approve any motion
You're
that's against.
not listening.
I don't have to listen. If Director Blackwell is true, it's a dilatory motion and it's out of order. Let's move on.
Listen to her.
Mr. President,
Now we're going on to
I will
item
move.
E. Item E.
May I politely ask
Wait.
1 second, 1 minute, not even 3 minutes. Can I have 1 minute?
Go ahead, Director Ascari.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Mr. President, listen, I am not saying it. Read the question. Said any candidate receive any additional information from HOA VMS. I am sure VMS will never, ever do anything against David Sterling. VMS will not give any information to anybody against David Sterling. Therefore, this is, if VMS gives to someone, that is legal. All this motion said, give to other candidates as well. That's all.
Director
So please
Ascari, can you quote me David Sterling on this to make sure I'm not doing something wrong? You can't.
I am saying that VMS will not do against.
You're not answering my
David
question.
Sterling.
Can anybody here
Because-
quote me
because
David
it's-
Sterling? You can't. So I will not take it.
Quoted
Dilatory.
when there is nothing against this. How can I quote you, Mr. President?
Well, I can't quote
There
you
is
either because I
nothing
don't have
against
David
it.
Sterling in front of me. I can't
I
research
hope
it
you all
here.
listen
Nobody
what
knows
you're
what it
saying.
is.
The motion is to accept this and put it over for 28 days.
Yeah, so if you accept this, it's 28 days. You can bring it back, but as of right now, if Director Blackwell is correct, then I'm not going to violate David Sterling. So that motion
Okay, may I
is
speak?
dilatory by
May I speak?
definition, and it's out of order.
It's not.
It is.
My point is, it's not.
You're out of
Can I
order.
express it? Can I share with you?
You're
It's
out
not.
of order.
You can bring it up
You are
in
not allowed to
20,
share any point that's not.
you can
You're out
bring
of
it
order.
up in 28 days when we vote on it for the.
And
No,
Director
we
Torn,
don't.
you
We
do
can-
not
why can't
know
we say that
David
today?
Sterling. Don't pretend you do. You do not know David Sterling.
And then you call that. Then you
It's
call
out,
that.
the motion, I already made my motion. It's dilatory and it's out of order
No,
because
you
it's
cannot.
dilatory.
It's a board making decision. It's
Moving
not
on,
a
let's
dictatorship.
move on to
That's the
item
problem with
E.
argument. Is you are dictators.
You're out of order.
You are a dictatorship.
You're out of order.
It's not a democratic process.
You're out of order.
I ask that debate cease.
This is not
And we
against
go
the
with
David
the
Sterling.
question.
I second it.
Do we put it over for 28 days? I ask for the
Yes.
question.
All right,
No.
motion made to ask the previous question, which is in order to, a movement to end debate. I need a 2/3 vote to end debate. All in favor of ending the debate on this? Okay, everybody here agrees. Director Torn, what's your vote at the end of debate?
No.
Director Ascari? Director Bastani?
Anthony, what's your vote?
I just voted to end debate.
I agree with, may I?
Well, we're asking for a vote. We're voting on this now.
No, I agree with what you said, but that's not the motion. What you said is that you're going to ask VMS to look at it and get back to us.
We're voting, Director Bastani, we're voting on
We
item
cannot
D.
vote on
The amendment that was proposed is dilatory by Robert's rules if we're in violation
No,
of
it's
David
not.
Sterling.
It's not.
You do not
No,
know
that's-
David Sterling. Don't say that you do.
So do you.
Moving on.
That's Maggie's.
Now we're discussing item D here. Do you
Wait,
want to
wait.
vote on it or not?
Did you vote?
No.
Anthony, you voted yes?
We cannot
Okay.
vote on
It's
it.
the end debate, end debate, end debate.
Vote.
Well, this
Anthony,
is, we're
vote
ending debate
yes.
now. That's what we're doing. We're
Vote
having-
yes, we need your vote. We
I
need your-
voted.
Did you vote yes? Okay, then it's 7-3.
All
7
right,
to
so
3.
debate is over.
Right.
So now we vote on it.
Now we vote to put it over for 28 days and
Yes.
have our questions answered.
Yes.
So I made that motion.
It's made, the motion is made
28.
to support it, and Director Ross
Then
agrees
vote.
with, he's the second, so let's have a vote. Director Lee, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Cash? Director Ross? Director Guyan Casey? Director Blackwell?
Yes.
Director English?
Yes.
I vote yes. Director Bastani?
No.
Director Ascari?
No.
And Director Torn?
Not present.
He's not responded, so what's the count?
7-2.
No.
Oh, he's finally answered no.
Oh, okay, 7-3.
All right, so this goes on as stated here. And E, move on to strategic planning. Now, Director Ascari has done a lot of work on this, but before I turn it over to her, I'd like to ask her to fill us in. She's done a lot of work. She's accumulated a lot of data from other directors. But my experience in corporate America is a strategic plan relates to a business plan or a budget plan, which also relates to a master plan. All three are interrelated when you run a business. You need a budget, and then the master plan, which is a long-term plan, dovetails with this budget plan. And because of those, and the budget plan is the default for everything else. And then after you get your master plan, then you have your strategic plan. So Director Ascari, you've done a lot of work on here. Would you take the floor?
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I don't think so at this point. We should give any put time on that. In June 17 at 2 p.m., it is an open session, so I am requesting all residents can contribute. So, Mr. President, to save the time, let's move this one to that, the talk about that on that meeting. It's specifically created for a strategic planning. I am repeating again, June 17th at 2 p.m.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Director Ascari. Thank you so much. And it was meant for oral discussion anyway. And again, you know, you can't do anything without a budget or a business plan. So, but Director Ascari has done a lot of work on this, so I commend her for that. Thank you very much. Director Torn.
I have a question.
There's
Yes,
no,
thank you
there
very
was
much.
there was
Okay.
no second, any opposition.
May I?
You have the floor,
May I?
Director Torn. You may.
Okay, yeah, I've been interrupted, and that's where I get a problem with that. Okay, starting from now, I'm counting my time with my own iPhone, okay? Now, the question I have is, we have collected all the input from all the directors, Are we supposed to collect some input from our residents? Or just the 11 of us making the decision for the corporate and the residents have no say of that, what they want? What do we want to do with the residents' opinion? Do we claim that we know everything, they don't know nothing? That is a question.
Well, Director Torn, I have already expressed my opinion. Director Ascari has done an amazing work in her personal time for all this, and I really do appreciate that. But my experience in working for different companies is that a strategic plan comes out of the default of a budget plan, because you can't work anything without money. And then also it should be a part of, and it should dovetail with a master plan. And I'm just really proud of what the Director Ascari has done. So, and I leave it her to come up. She's going to, Director Ascari, on the 17th of June, is going to give us her presentation. Is that correct, Director Ascari? Have I got you right?
Yes, President.
Thank you, Director.
One thing very important in the strategic plan is for customer satisfaction. So, do we want to hear what satisfies them?
Director Torn, first of all, you're out of order, and I told you you can talk to Director Ascari if you want. She's carrying this on this, and I just made some observations about where a strategic plan belongs in the total concept of a business. Thank you. Let's move on.
New business.
I have nothing under new business, and again, we've approved this as is, so we move on. Now we'll go for director's comments. I'm going to start with the people here on the board, and Director Lee, you've been awful quiet. Can we have comments from you, please?
No, actually, well, we've covered very important things today. I think the anti-harassment policy is very, very important. The voting policy is very, very important. So I feel like although this meeting has been a little bit confusing, and at times it was kind of loud, but I feel like we have accomplished a lot. And I'm so glad that we passed all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lee. Director Akrakar. No. Director Ross. Director Casey?
Nope, thank you.
Director Blackwell?
No comment.
Director English, do you have anything to offer?
No, not really. I'm just disgusted with the whole thing, frankly. Thank you.
Thank you, Director English. Director Ascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, it was lots of in the agenda, and always the board meeting is like that. And the beauty is a different opinion should be heard. And the role of President, Mr. President, is very important role to not get a little bit high-tempered and listen to all people before you mention your famous word of out of order. It's nice if you let people talk and then get the common sense from everything. I appreciate what you're doing. It's a lot of things on your shoulder. And thanks to all directors. And we have to make the tolerance up and be available to listen to opposite opinions as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Ascari. Director Bastani, do you have any comments?
I just repeat what I said. The harassment policy was incomplete. It didn't cover the other side. Unfortunately, people passed it. I'm sorry.
So, hold on, it's his turn. You're out of order. All right, Bastani, are you finished?
Yes.
Director Torn? Yes, I'm going to pick up my closed meeting agenda right after this meeting. So please, VMS, prepare to print it out, okay? And I also think that the president chairing the meeting most important thing is to listen. If the chair doesn't listen, then there will be argument all the time. Okay, we have to have everybody needs to have the skill, especially on the board, need to have the skill of listen. Okay, before you come up with your own opinions, right? Another thing is this harassment policy. There are so many loopholes in there. It's just so simplified. Nothing's specified there. There's no right for the members. The members have absolutely no right during the hearing. They don't get the investigation report. They don't get to re-examine the information. They don't get the evidence, and the evidence are shared with the committee after the meeting is the resident member leaves the meeting. That's totally unacceptable. I don't understand how we can pass this one. Okay, wait until we get a lawsuit and then we lose. Okay, then we'll come back and tell people who approved this meeting, this committee. All right, I'm not against the committee, but I'm against that this process is full of loopholes. And a lot of the issues are not mentioned. Okay, so they don't have to follow any rule. It's not in the policy, so we don't have to follow them. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Torn. Director Casey.
Yeah, I was just going to say that this is a 28-day.
Can you turn on your mic, please? Thank you.
This is a 28-day review, so if people have changes they want to make, send them in to Saban.
Yeah, thank you. Michaela?
We do have a resident speaker, Richard Rader, on Zoom, requesting to speak, if that's okay.
As directors okay with that?
Sure.
It's not on the agenda. All right, Mr. Rader.
Thank you. I had raised my hand at the appropriate time, but somehow it wasn't looked at. So I have two things that I wanted to bring forth. A comment, the issue of committee member assignments has been brought up many, and I emphasize many prior board meetings. May I request that this issue not be put on the agenda until it has been completely resolved prior to a board meeting. The question I have on 12B, does this resolution prevent payments of bills that extend as far back as February?
$12 banana or 12 donut?
12 banana.
Thank you.
Mr. President, may I respond?
Director Ascari, you got the floor.
Thank you. It was, some question was right after the auditing, and we are discussing on that one, and VMS staff cooperating very well. And however, some questions that I had, it takes time until they find the answer. So there is nothing wrong, but we were waiting for the answers. And as soon as we receive and discuss all of them, it will be ratified. Yes, all is related to the beginning of the year.
No, but so, my question relates specifically to whether this is holding up bills being paid.
Oh, no. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't understand. No.
Thank you.
Yeah,
okay, thank you, Mr. Rader. I have nothing to offer here. So we're going to go on to item number 15 on the agenda, committee reports. Director Ascari, would you like to lead off, please?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. If we can have the first slide. Thank you so much. Through the reporting period of April 30th, 2022, total revenue for United was $15 million compared to expenses of $13.8, resulting in the net expenses of actually revenue 1.1. And slide 2, please. As usual, finance is very sensitive to the operating portion. The operating fund without depreciation shows an operating surplus of 806,000 through the reporting period. This chart shows how much of revenue went to the operation, with 7.5 million coming in from assessment and 520 from the non-assessment revenue, without, of course, unrealized gain. This is compared to operating expenditures of 7.2 million without depreciation. May I have a slide 3, please? Thank you. This next chart takes the full income statement and compares those results to budget. We can see that United ended the period better than budget by 1.4 million when combining both operating and reserve savings. May I have slide 4, please? Thank you. The most significant variances from budget were, of course, as follows. You can see outside service, 1.3 million is based on timing. Budgets are spread evenly for programs such as building structure and baseline remediation, tree maintenance, and so forth during the year. So that doesn't mean we are saving right now, so we'll spend during the year. And the next one that you can see is employee compensation, 600,000 favorable variance, resulting primarily in M&P department and landscape due to open positions that we have. And the next one, you can see material and supplies, 222,000 favorable. And that's a result in several areas of operation, such as interior components, paint, carpentry, appliances, due to timing of expenditures. The next or the last favorable is insurance, 110,000 favorable, resulting to lower premiums for property and casualty insurance upon renewal. And we have two unfavorable. Unfortunately, is you can see the biggest unrealized gain loss on investment, $831,000. I know it's hurting. It's unfavorable balance condition for a bond index fund investment during the reporting period. Of course, I should tell that the resident, this is just on the paper right now. Until we're selling, it's not that, but it's just hurting the eyes at this moment. And the next one is utilities, is a 95,000 unfavorable variance due to less seasonal rainfall. Budget was based on a 5-year average of water consumption. However, seasonal rainfall through April was 75% lower than last 5 years, and that is the result of that red bar that you can see. May I have slide 5, please? Thank you. On this pie chart, we show, you can see that non-assessment revenue earned to date of 567,000, excluding the unrealized loss on available for sale in investment. And if you include that one, that the total non-assessment actually become negative, 264,000. So revenue is organized by category, starting with our largest revenue that comes from generating fee and charges to residents, followed by laundry and lead processing fee, resale processing fee, and we go to a smaller, the other one that you can see in the chart. If we can have slide 6, I will go deeper on that one because on this pie chart, we see the expenses to date is 14 million, and showing that our largest category of expenses, as usual, is employee compensation, followed by property and sales tax, utility, insurance, outside service, materials and supplies, and so forth, that getting the percentage smaller. And if you can see on the upper right corner, we show a breakdown of the utility category, which is good to know how you have to be careful about how you're using the water, especially. Can we have slide 7, please? On this slide, you can see the same, but excluding property and sales tax. Because property sales tax, we directly get from the residents and we give it to the city. So that's even. So it's more clear in this chart to see how revenue compared to expenses this year. Can we have slide 8, please? Our fund balances are shown here. The contingency fund balance on April 30th, 2022 was 1.1 million. The reserve fund balance on April 30th was 19.6 million. Contributions and investment revenue collected totally 2.8 million, while expenditures you can see is 2.3 million. Property tax fund balance on April 30th was negative 124,000, and contribution and investment revenue collected total 4.1 million. So you can see the expenditures was 4.2 million. That's what the result was negative. So slide 9, please. We compare this to historical fund balance for the past 5 years on this chart. Is a bar chart you can see, which have average of 20 million, and we are right on that average. You can see that teeny tiny line, horizontal line. And the last chart, we have a slide here to show resale history from 2020 to 2022. Of course, you can see through April 30th to 2022 this year, United sales total 169, which is 45 resale higher than prior year. That's good news for the same period time. The average year to date resale price for a United Mutual Manor was 319,000, which is 58,000 higher than prior year for the same time period. It's good to finish the report with this good news. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Ascari. And now on to the Architectural Control and Standards Committee. Now, if you were looking at the consent calendar, you can see some of the work that we did that you voted for. And now, talking to Mr. Mejia while I was back east on telephone, I don't think there's a need for another meeting this month until we find something to have a meeting about. So we don't want to saving staff time and all that. We're going to save a little bit of money. So that's all I have on the Architectural Control Committee. Now, report on Member Hearing Committee. Director Ardani's not feeling well today, and she has an excused absence. So I don't have a report for her committee there. Report on the Governing Documents Committee review. Director Blackwell, please.
Okay, we did not have a meeting in May, so we do have one in 3 days, I think. It's very soon. So we will look forward to that. Thank you.
I believe it's on June 16th.
Yeah.
At 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom. Now, report on Landscape Committee, Director Casey.
Yes. Yes, we met on June 9th I did that virtually from Idaho, and Maggie did chair the meeting. And we discussed various things and approved, various staff recommendations. And we also chose our advisors, which are Mary Jo Sinclair and Ann Beltran for the Landscape Committee. And we chose the ad hoc committee, which includes 8 people, including myself. And so that will start in June. What would you say? June. We'll start a meeting in June. We'll have to make arrangements for it. And Lenny did bring up that we need to appropriate some money in the budget for the turf reduction. And so that is being considered in the next revision of the budget. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Director Casey. Let's see what we got here. Report on maintenance and construction. Director English, do you have a report for us?
Yes, I do, a brief one anyway. The committee met on April the 27th. The next meeting's going to be June the 22nd at 9 o'clock in the boardroom and as a virtual meeting. There was a fair amount of discussion on both solar and the progress that we are having with the epox lining. And our staff are doing very good works and giving us good reports on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director English. Report of the United Resident Committee, Director Lee.
Yes, we had a meeting last Thursday, and Director Eckhart was with me. There were quite a few complaints regarding cul-de-sac 205. So after the meeting, we both went and visited and validated their complaints. We have sent out the emails to different people in charge. So we're in a process of getting a response delivered back to the residents. Thank you. So next meeting will be July 14th.
Thank you, Director Lee. And let's do a quick review of the GRF committee highlights. Report of the GRF Finance Committee. Director Ascari, can you help us out there, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Actually, last month, GRF didn't have a finance, so we had no meeting on May. Therefore, I don't have any report for that. All I can say tomorrow, actually, is June 15 at 1:30. GRF has a meeting, and I encourage residents just join us virtually if they cannot be in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ascari. The Strategic Planning Committee, GRF Strategic and Planning Committee, Director Casey, do you have a report?
Just that the chair presented a questionnaire to be responded and workshop. And so the next meeting is to be announced. I couldn't find when that is, so.
Thank you, Director Casey. GRF Community Activities Committee, Director Blackwell, do you have something for us?
Yes, we met on Thursday, June 9th. We had a discussion and we passed an amended garden center garden center rules. Okay, we discussed and we'll continue discussing the tennis rules, particularly as to the reservations and the 50-50 or 2/3, whatever, for tournaments, which is the confusing point. The committee needs a better understanding of what that discussion is. We still do need staffing in the clubhouses. Part-time staff can be residents, so if residents are looking for a part-time job, they can perhaps work in a clubhouse. Lifeguards, we need lifeguards. There is a nationwide shortage of lifeguards at this time, apparently. Clubhouse 3 is still undergoing renovation. And let's see, the date of our next meeting is July 14th. That's Thursday at 1:30.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. There's something else here. I don't know if we have anybody on this, the Equestrian Center Ad Hoc Committee. Has anybody been attending that?
Yes, I was there in May.
Director Lee, could you give us
Yes,
a
I was
report,
there
please?
in May 25th. Probably right now, the Equestrian Center is the hottest place in town. Yeah, they had a great success with the Renaissance Fair. They also have, well, it's going to be better, but as of now, we have a 6 months waiting list to get on the horseback riding. So they're
Wow.
getting busy, getting more horses, adding staffs and getting a trainer. So they're trying to improve so that the people who want to come and ride a horse, they don't have to wait for 6 months. So actually, there was an article in the Breeze about this horse riding, and one of the residents came back and complained about the long wait. So they're working on it, but it's right now very exciting. Lots of things are happening there right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Lee, I have one observation. Driving my little golf cart through the yard over there, I see one incident, they were parking up there and then walking all the way down that little road there to the equestrian center. Do they do that a lot? That's kind of dangerous. Do you know what I'm talking about? They had some kind of event and they were parking all over the place.
That lots of things are happening over there. And also they're upgrading the security measures. They're, for the boarding of the horses, they're building the new facilities there. So maybe it's very, very busy.
Yeah. I'm just asking if they're going to have events and have a lot of people over there, and if they use the employee parking, I think they should pay more attention to how if people have to walk down that windy road.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned about our
I will bring
exposure.
that up in the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lee. GRF Landscape Committee, Director Casey.
They had a meeting on June 8th, which I did not attend. I was in Idaho. I had some problems with my internet connection. And the next meeting is September 14th at 1:30. Was there anybody at that landscape committee meeting that has a comment?
I was.
Okay.
Okay, we discussed the creek again, and we discussed the irrigation. We're taking bids we have bids on a new irrigation center for the village, and that will be controlled by a hand device instead of by devices all over the place where you have to go back to the office to manually arrange things. So this is going to be very wonderful because any irrigation officer wandering around, and they do go around and check all the time, can instantly make a change in time and in cycle at any time, and then book it, and show it on the thing, and that's automatic, and that's a huge, huge bonus. So that's a very good thing. We're looking forward to that.
Okay, thank you. And let's, GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee, Director Cash Akwakar.
There was some discussion about electric cars charging, and maybe next month I'll have a report on it.
Thank you.
The committee met on June 8th, and the next meeting is August 10th.
Thank you, Director. Now, do we have anybody on this ad hoc committee? Director Casey for the clubhouse?
Yes.
Where are we at with that thing?
Yes. We did meet on May 25th. Two designers were presenting their plan, their initial costs. And, so then they're going to meet again on June 24th.
Thank you, Director Casey. Now, we have the GRF Committee on Media and Communication Committee. Director Ardani couldn't join us today. Has anybody else been there to that meeting?
Oh, I was at that meeting. We were talking about, of course, negotiating contracts and so on. We're making a slight change of something. I didn't prepare for this because I wasn't. Okay, but so they are trying to increase communications. We are working with broadband. We've got internet prices have not increased since 2014, so that's probably not going to stay. So we've got a fee for YouTube. We've got Village Television will feature its own foreign film festival in June. So we should have foreign films this month. I didn't notice that they had, but that's what they're going. Otherwise, broadband services accounts for 42% of GRF's non-assessment revenue. So broadband is a huge, huge moneymaker for GRF. Thank you. And our next meeting is June 20th.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. And then a GRF report of the Mobility and Vehicles Committee. Do you have something for us there?
Oh, yes, I was there, and we are looking at leasing programs, and we are looking at used items. But when we are looking at used vehicles, we want white ones because we want to put our logo on the side and maintain the appearance of it. And we also want ones where we can get the parts easily, because if you buy a used product, a used vehicle, and you can't get the parts for it, you've got a very short life for a used vehicle. So when they are considering buying used vehicles, those will do it. But they are looking into leasing and are doing some leasing. So it's coming along. We don't have, we are still short some vehicles because they didn't get shipped over from wherever they were coming. But we're like 7 or 8 vehicles short. We're almost at our full vehicle supply now, so it's not as bad as it was earlier when we had very few of our replacement vehicles. Thank you.
Okay, Director Blackwell, can you continue on with the report GRF Security and Community Access Committee?
Right, okay. We met the new Chief Nunez, Eric Nunez, who's taking over, and that was very good. The RV update. The RV lot parking statistics, the waiting list is based on the size of the RV. So we have only so many of the small ones and fewer of the large ones and so on and so on. So we can say our list is varied, and you could say, well, you put these 10 in this category, except they don't fit in that category. So we have to maintain the categories according to the size of the RV. And there's always a waiting list, but it's okay. All right, then they said, we're going to, going ahead with solar-powered stop signs. That's a solar power stop sign is going to be lights on the stop sign so that you can see it, and it'll be solar powered, so it's no electrical cost or anything. They're going to put several of those out, and that may be good for us for added safety. We are also putting a couple of no bicycle signs at Aliso Park. So they're going to consider about where to put those and how they need to be, but there will be some no bicycles because they're interfering with the people that are wandering through. You know, it's a nice, peaceful walk. And if a bicyclist comes by you quickly, you might be shocked and things might happen. So they have to have those signs, and that would be good. Our next meeting is June 27th at 1:30. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. And the next committee report would be the Laguna Woods Village traffic hearings, ZRF. Director Ardani is excused for some medical issues today, but their next meeting will be June 15th, tomorrow, 9 a.m., and it's a virtual meeting. ZRF, committee report on disaster preparedness task force. Director Casey, do you have anything to report on that?
Well, the meeting on May 31st was canceled, and the next meeting will be July 26th at 9:30.
Thank you, Director Casey. And we have the report of the Purchasing Task Force Ad Hoc Committee. And Director Ardani, again, is not in today, so we can postpone the report on that. She'll get back to us. And then we have the Information Technology Advisory Committee. Boy, that's a mouthful. Director Casey.
Well, our new software is going full speed ahead. They're, designing and getting formatting and things like that from the various stakeholders, the people that will be using the software, working with them to get all the strategies in place for the software to work as they need it. And so they had a talk 2 weeks ago. This happens every week, so 2 weeks ago, we had a nice presentation from the people, the consultants that are installing and various people that are involved. And last week, they just, talked more about the progress of what's going on. So we meet every week. Our next one is June 17th, this Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Casey. Report on the Ad Hoc Insurance Committee. I'll take that one. We met and we had a long discussion on this idea of captive group. And the captive group is the logic behind it is very simple, similar to what we do when we get health insurance at work. You get all the people together and you put them in a group and it reduces your rate. Well, a captive insurance group is something similar to that, where you get a bunch of other HOAs or company and they join together to get their insurance. A good idea, but it's very complicated because a big company like ours may have billions of dollars worth of exposure and another company may only have $1 million worth of exposure, so that has to be all ironed out. My only thing with the committee is, I hear people talking about fiduciary responsibility, and it's our responsibility to check out all the possibilities for Laguna Woods United Mutual and then select the best opportunity. I want to investigate owning or not self-insurance. Self-insurance is a misnomer. In self-insurance, you have an administrative company that does all the administrative work, but you have to maintain a reserve for the deductibles. And companies over the years started tapping their reserves and they went bankrupt. So I work for a company where we bought our own insurance company. What that does, it knocks out the broker. And we paid $250,000 for a broker, not insurance, last year. And so, I'm not saying we want to do this, but we certainly have to rule it out so I can look in the faces of residents and say, we checked this, we checked that, we checked this, and this looks like to be the best. So right now, we're really hot on this captive group thing, but I like to explore our own insurance company, but it's really complicated with a lot of things to discuss, and I'm not really good on the computer, but I'll try it. And for that, we're going to have another meeting. It hasn't been announced yet. It's to be announced, but I will try to keep you all informed because, as you can imagine, this insurance thing, if we don't deal with it, it's going to really hurt us. Okay. And the website, the ABHOP website committee, that's going to meet on July 6th. We really haven't done a whole lot on that yet. But I volunteered my services because I have access to people who work in Hollywood on that. And, you know, they've been do this stuff all the time. So I can filter that into the committee. And that ad hoc committee is, again, on July 6th at 10 a.m. And it's going to be in the Sycamore Room. So,
Mr. President, can I add one sentence here?
sure.
With your permission, thank you. All I wanted to say that because we voted on that one in favor of you, I was angry. You didn't let me to tell you I want to put off this committee and you be in because you said you have access for someone. But you didn't let me to say that one when we were voting on that. I wanted to announce and VMS here and take my name totally off as committee member or as an alternate. Take it off and put President Liberator on that one. That's what I wanted to say, but you didn't let me to say when we were voting on
Okay,
that one.
I apologize. I apologize, Director Ascari. Forgive me.
Okay, so I hope VMS hear what I said. Take my name totally off of that one, and President Liberator put President Liberator on that one, even as an alternate board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ascari. Item 17, future agenda items. All right. I don't see any hands
I've
raised.
got a future item. That great presentation that Pearl gave on the equestrian center, one thing she forgot, and that was they're having a barbecue. And it's going to be, I don't know whether it's this coming Monday or the following Monday, but if you haven't been to one of their barbecues, you should get out and go. And they're very good. I think it's costing, $10 or $15 now, but it's well worth the trip.
I love barbecue. All
You
right.
what?
And Siobhan, do we have anything for future agenda items that you would want to put in?
No,
Okay,
thank you.
Anybody else? All right, so it is now, well, what is it, 1:42?
It's currently
1:22.
1:22.
Okay, 1:22, so let's break for,
But the back of the room is only 121?
well, that's always behind this thing. 1:22, so let's give ourselves 30 minutes for lunch, all right? So it'll be, what, 1:52 when we reconvene in the Willow Room? Is that correct, Mahela?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, all right, 1:52 in the Willow Room. Thank you very much for putting up with me.
Thank you.